Welcome to another edition of the Ultimate Weigh-In Show. I'm your host, Manpreet, aka MMA Lock of the Night, and your boy on Twitter at MMALOT. And this week we're going over UFC Vegas 28, headlined by Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Augusto Sakai. Why those guys are in the main event, I'll never know. But we did have Jessica I fight Cynthia Calvillo in the main event last year as well. So it is what it is. I'll rather take this one over that one anyway. Obviously, I've brought some friends along with me. You guys know the format of the show. Every week I bring on a different set of crew or a different cast of guys to help break down the fights for us. Obviously, now that we got the weigh-ins in mind, we can give you guys a little bit better of an idea of how we're feeling and which sides we're leaning on for every single fight. We got 14 fights this weekend, so plenty of fights to talk about. So far, knock on wood, no fights have dropped out, and I'm really looking forward to the vast majority of these fights. But what I'm looking forward to most is breaking it down with the guests that I got with me first and foremost. So, let's bring them in one by one, as I always do. And I want to bring in the A side. I always like calling it the A side. We got my guy Paul Shaughnessy from Dogger Pass Podcast, one half with Cody Saftik over there. You guys have been clamoring to get Paul on the show, as have I. And now it just seems like the perfect time. Paul, what's going on, brother?
Not too much. Thanks for having me on. The A side. Usually I'm the B side on the program. Typically, most people are, I'm lining it up for Cody to knock it down. But yeah, thanks for having me on. Long time overdue, obviously, and looking forward to breaking down some fights with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I knew I wanted to do something with you one day, and you're actually one of the first people to give me legitimate tips when I got into that podcasting world, and I'm truly thankful of that. So I'm glad that we can finally fucking do something together. And what great show to do it with than the Ultimate Weigh-In Show here. All right, let's bring in the next fella that we got, my guy Liam from Liam Picks Fights. Liam, what's going on, my guy?
Manpreet, thank you so much for having me on, brother. I'm excited to be here. It's a big opportunity. I really appreciate it. I feel like I'm living with the legends today. All the guys I've been listening to since I got into this sport. So very exciting opportunity for me, and I'm excited to chop it up.
Absolutely, dude. You have a legitimate background in jiu-jitsu and wrestling and stuff. So I wanted to make sure that I brought you on. Not to mention that you're very enthusiastic and know what the fuck you're talking about. You're a legitimate dude within the space. So I had to give you the platform that was required to at least showcase your talents and stuff. So I'm glad that you were able to make it happen for tonight. All right, let's bring in my last buddy. I've never actually spoken to this guy before, but a lot of people love him. Aaron Watershow, if that is your real name. What's going on? He's known as Brittany Palmer's Future X, and you are muted right now. So make sure you unmute yourself before you start spilling your spiel. What's going on, my brother?
Yeah, what's up, man? Happy to be here. Feel like I'm fangirling pretty hard being on this podcast right now. So, yeah, pumped, ready to have a good time. Cheers.
Hey, Paul, you slacking, bro? What's going on?
I've got it.
I'm drinking Paul on the table today.
I mean, I think I'm happy to be able to drink seltzer. Like, he's the seltzer king. I'm just, following
That's
his
an honor. That's an honor to hear that.
Absolutely. I wish I could join you guys. I got a freaking road trip ahead of me after this, so I don't want to be catching a DUI on my way to a cottage. But maybe the next time I'll line you guys up once again so we can pound some seltzers while we're going through this podcast. All right. Let's waste no more time, right? Let's get right into it. We got a 14-fight slate ahead of us, plenty of fights to talk about, and plenty of thoughts to be had. So I'll kick things off first and foremost. We got Claudio Poyos going up against Jordan Levitt. Last time I saw odds, it was actually minus 200 for Mr. Poyos, for Jordan Levitt, and it's pretty much still at that plus 170 for Poyos. I like Poyos here. I'm always going to be fading the Jordan Levitt hype train until it cashes, especially if you're giving me underdog money. I know Poyos isn't probably the greatest fighter to go out there and fade somebody with, but he has, I believe he has a black belt in jiu-jitsu at this point in time. When I was trying to creep him on the IGs, the most I could find was that he had a brown belt back in 2018. Gotta believe he's been able to close that gap in that amount of time. Not to mention, definitely the better striker. Not a crazy good striker, but I'm probably a better striker than the Monkey God at this point, or the Monkey King, I should say, at this point in time. So if people are successful in terms of keeping this fight on the feet, I think we'll see Jordan Levitt get starched on the feet, or at least lit up a little bit. And I think that Poyos is able to do that. How much confidence? Not the utmost. I'm not putting my house on or anything like that. But I do think that this is a good underdog spot for Poyos to go out there and spring the upset. A lot of people are big on Levitt and think that his one-dimensional style of just dragging fights to the ground and using his jiu-jitsu is going to work over and over again. But Cron Gracie found that out pretty hard with Cub Swanson a couple months back, or almost a year back now. But yeah, I like me some Poyos here. I think he probably finishes it second or third round, but we'll see what happens. Paul, how are you feeling about this fight?
I think it's like a dog or pass situation as well. I know that we haven't seen Poyos, in over 2 years now. He's only 25 years old. You got to figure he's in the gym working on all of his skills, rounding out his game. I wasn't too impressed with him when he was around, obviously, years ago. And, winning against Marcus Mariano isn't exactly like that puts you on the map type of fight. But like I said on the program or on the Dogger Pass podcast this week is like, I see holes. I see holes in Jordan Levitt's game. He obviously took on Matt Wyman, the ghost of Matt Wyman, his last time out. And that fight was over before it started. He, grabs him, pulls him over to his corner, and then dumps him and knocks him out on a slam. It's just like, you go back to like the Izzy William fight. Like it was only like in 2019, and it's just like this guy's young, developing, and that round 3 he was super, super gassed. So if I don't have any money on the fight, but if I had to play, it is a dogger pass situation.
Yeah, the Izzy William fight was the one that was a big red flag for me. That was actually February of 2020, so a lot sooner than a lot of people
exactly.
were. Yeah, that was a bad look. Liam, so we got Claudio Poyos changing training camps. He's over there at Sanford MMA now. He's 20 years old when he was on The Ultimate Fighter. Now he's 25, only has 3 fights in the UFC, had a 2-year layoff. Do you think he comes back and springs the upset over the Monkey King here?
This was a fight that I kind of had a hard time getting a good read on. I think that both of these guys would prefer to play most of their fights out on the ground. I think that in terms of Levitt's skill set, I do think it's a little underrated. I like some of the things that he does. That slam against Wyman is kind of just a meme KO that I rate as nothing, but he did do a similar move in the Flores fight. So it's not like it was like accidental. He does try to slam people really hard with the forearm across the face. It's pretty good move, but I think that his skill set is limited. I don't like the fact that he just launches in very wide on his wrestling entries. Like he doesn't get very close to set them up, which you would need to be striking to do so. So he tries to go from really far out. And I think that you guys are right that it's not going to work forever. I don't know what to expect just because we don't have enough recent tape or data to really make an evaluation on the play side. That's why I didn't play it, but I do think that that's the value side here. I would slightly favor Levitt just because of the recent activity. He fought a lot of times in 2020. I like that he's just getting out there and competing. I think that's only going to make him better. And he seems like a very intelligent guy. So I do like some of the things about his game, but I think overall he's due for a striking beatdown. I just don't know that Poyos is the guy. And without evidence to see it, I'm just going to stay off this fight.
Dogger pass, like you're saying with Paul as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Aaron, how are you feeling about this fight? Do you like the Monkey King here, or do you think that Poyos pulls off the upset?
Yeah, I kind of do like the Monkey King actually. I think I think his grappling is really good. In his last fight, when you watch him grapple, you can see he chains submissions together really well. So he's not just like a one-trick pony. He's not going to get – it looks like he can finish you a ton of different ways in terms of being on top and on the bottom and just on the ground in general. So I like that. Well, it just looks too loose to me in his grappling. He also, I think the last fight, he dove for Kimura. He gave up top position and dove for Kimura, and I just don't like backing guys who do shit like that, honestly. It's pretty low IQ, obviously, for the judges and stuff like that. So I think this particular fight, yeah, I could definitely see like a finish or something like that, just because I think it's going to be a heavy grappling match. I don't really see it being a stand-up. Well, this looks like he likes to wrestle too.
Yeah.
How well he does it, I don't know, but yeah, like Liam said, he shoots his shots from very far out. So I think Levitt just got strong enough jiu-jitsu where he can probably make him pay for a few things. He leaves his neck out there when he went for a few takedowns too. So yeah, I think. Was it the Monkey King, Monkey God?
Yeah,
wasn't there a Monkey
I think
God?
I think Monkey God is
Jared Brooks.
Jared Brooks. He was pretty good too.
Who knocked himself out?
Speaking of slams,
right?
Yeah,
which was baller. But yeah, no, I got Levitt here. I think he could probably get a finish. I think there will be lots of opportunities for him to get a finish. Actually,
do you think minus 200 is a little bit too steep though, or are you comfortable with that?
I think yeah. Well, I wouldn't probably play his money line, but I think it's probably about right if his grappling is where I think it is at. But Puelas, obviously, new camp. Sanford's a good one. You said he was at Sanford, right? So,
yeah, legitimate camp.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how many. And I think it's been a few years since he's fought, or it's been a while. So he could make improvements. I think that's a lot of things that people have to take in mind. Is like off these long layoffs, dudes are. You'd hope they'd be training. So, but yeah, no, I think Levitt. I think it's a finish here by sub. He's tricky. He's good. He's one of. I think he's got underrated jiu-jitsu. I think it's probably better than most people think.
Yeah. No, I'm very interested to see if Poyos has made some improvements for sure. That's something that we're going to have to find out, especially here against Levitt, who wants to keep this fight grounded. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We got Yusuf Salah going up against Sean Woodson. We got minus 175 on Woodson. There is action coming in on Zalal. Initially, I thought Zalal had some success, or at least he looked interesting as an underdog, as wide of an underdog as he was when the lines dropped. So once you run the tape, I'm a little bit skeptical about it. So Paul, I'll actually let you kick this one off. Who are you feeling between Woodson and Mr. Zalal?
Oh, not a fight that I have a great read on, to be perfectly honest. No action on this one either. Just based on like watching the weigh-ins, just before we got on the air here, the size disparity, the reach disparity, things are all on Sean Woodson's side, obviously. Here, 4-inch reach advantage. He's this guy's enormous.
Yeah, 6'2",
for the weight class. Getting knocked out by Juicy J, not exactly the greatest look. Yusuf Zalal, I just think that it's going to be a very, very close fight, but Woodson just throws a lot more volume. He's going to out volume in this fight and win probably a pretty close decision. Not what's the line currently at this?
175 is the money line for Woodson.
Yeah, I don't love it. Love it. I think these guys are both pretty flawed. I don't see them becoming any sort of like top graded talent in this division moving forward. But yeah, so Woodson's the pick. No bet here.
Perfect. Liam, so Woodson's not training with James Cross for this training camp. It seems like he's gone back to his old camp. I'm not sure if it's temporarily or what it is. How much of an impact do you think that's going to have? And then obviously, who do you think wins this fight?
Well, I was already on the Zalal side here, and that would only make me a little bit more encouraged, to be honest with you. I think that Woodson is not a bad fighter by any means. I think he's obviously a very talented guy. I think Paul is rightly pointing out, if you just look at raw physical advantages, I don't know how, you could write off those factors. Like I would line this fight personally a very slight favorite for Sean Woodson. And so when I saw the line where it was, I played him, Zalal, I'm talking about at plus 160 for a small wager. And then I also took Zalal inside the distance at plus 600 for a small wager as well. And I took an even smaller wager on Zalal round 3 sub. And the reason I did that was simple, which is just that I think that Woodson is a gasser. Like, I think his best path to victory in every fight is to win a striking-based decision. And when he's fighting guys at the UFC level, I think the fact that he can't even beat somebody up for 12 and a half minutes without getting tired is going to be a problem, because he was really landing cleaner shots on a Rosa. If you remember in that fight, he drops a Rosa like 30 seconds before he gets finished. And I just don't think he had the gas to put his foot down and finish him there. I think he was really spent already. And I think Zalal doesn't offer the same pressure threat. I'll acknowledge that up front. But what I do think he offers is very tricky wrestling in transition. I like his wrestling game. And I expect him to have opportunities here. I think Woodson gets credit for being good at takedown defense against the cage, which he deserves. But I do think that in open space, he could be exploited in some of those positions. And ultimately, I think that Yusuf Zalal has a very opportunistic submission game that he hasn't been able to find yet in the UFC, but he's been close. And he's also hurt guys on the feet and sent them wobbling across the octagon. I think he's faced a much higher level of opposition. Ilya Taporia, there's no shame in that loss.
Monster.
He also had grappling success in that fight. not extended periods. I mean, obviously he lost the majority of the grappling exchanges, but he put Ilia Topuria in danger with his own submission holds. I think people forget that. So I'm willing to back Yusuf Zalal here. I think he's the more proven UFC talent, and that's the way I feel about it.
I don't mind it. If you like that sub prop, it's at plus 700. So with a little bit of a sprinkler if you think he actually latches it on. Aaron, how are you feeling about this matchup? You think Woodson gets it done by sticking out at distance, or do you think Zalal closes the distance and gets his game going?
Yeah, I kind of favor Woodson a bit, but the odds kind of make me want to take Zalal. I see this more as kind of like a pretty even fight, like a 110 each way. So I get like Spider-Man meme vibes from it, when they're like pointing at each other. When you watch them fight, they fight pretty similar. Their hands low, they're throwing like their birds out there, trying to confuse you, and they're long and like they do that type of stuff. So I could just see this being a very close match that a lot of people are going to be tweeting on about it being a robbery, whichever way it goes. So I think this is definitely that fight. So yeah, I mean, with the odds being the way they are, Zalal honestly looks like a good value play to me. And like Liam said, he wrestles and stuff like that. So I also think that the camp change is a huge thing. Or I guess it's not a camp change, it's just going back to his day one, I guess. Yeah. He said he was going back. Yeah, I mean, obviously the Crouch Gym is going to be probably a much more high level. You're going to be working with dudes on a day-to-day basis that will push you, and who knows how his old gym is. I don't know his old gym. I'm assuming it's just some dinky neighborhood gym. So yeah, I gotta think his cardio might take a hit too if that's something that we're concerned about. That not being at a camp like Krause's gym is probably going to affect that a little bit too. So I know I said I like Woodson, and I'd like to take that back. I like Zalal. Retract. Yeah. So yeah, no, I think Zalal is that's a good bet, especially at those odds. I'm pretty surprised.
Shout out to my guy SD Crusader saying this is the first fight Zalal is going to have a full camp in a long time. You guys remember he took the Topuria fight on short notice, took the Choi fight on short notice. Now
against two tough guys.
Two tough guys, yeah. It was the 3-0 in the UFC, and not to mention, dude, the guy only made his UFC debut in February of 2020, and he's managed to rattle off 5 fights. He's been staying really fucking active. Starts off 3-0 and then loses his next 2 fights. Now the way that I see it, I think it almost plays out similarly to the Choi fight, but the difference here is that Choi is more of a Muay Thai kickboxer, whereas you have Woodson more so of a boxing approach, but he also has that knee up the middle, considering the fact that he's fucking 6'2". So yeah, he's going to be able to bring up that knee pretty quickly, and he lands it quite regularly too. The Julian Rosa fight, the interesting part about that fight, Rosa and Zalal have completely different styles of fighting, right? Rosa, widely veteran, stays in front of your face, has that wacky movement as well, and he pressures his opponents. And I think that's where Woodson actually ended up cracking it and folding. Whereas Zalal, I don't see him kind of fighting that way, right? Like he's more of a, I don't want to say technician per se, but he doesn't push the pace like a Julian Rosa. He doesn't stay in your face. He doesn't make you uncomfortable. He does, he likes to strike, and if his striking isn't going well, he likes to lean on that wrestling. But when that wrestling's not happening, we get the Choi fight, right? He stays on the feet and he gets beat up there. And Sean Woodson, on the other hand, he has gotten taken down in all 3 of his last fights. That includes his Contender Series fight, but he springs right back to his feet. The Kyle Bochniak fight gives up 5 minutes of control time, but that's pretty much Bochniak trying to take him down up against the cage. And while he's trying to take him down, Woodson's just letting him up with like elbows and dirty boxing and just trying to defend the takedown and get damage. So even though Bochniak has 5 minutes of control time in that fight, he was losing those exchanges because he's getting beat on. He's incurring damage and all that. So yeah, I like Woodson. I think he has a little bit of a bright future. I'm looking forward to seeing how he actually how it works out for him. I think he keeps it at distance. I think he lets his boxing going. He gets his boxing going. He keeps the fight at distance. He stuffs the takedowns, or at least gets back to his feet and really gets Zalal to be working. So I hate to say it, I'm a Zalal fan, but I think Zalal ends up taking an L here. And I do like the way that Paul was breaking this down in terms of taking Woodson by decision, because I do think that's probably the best spot, and that's sitting at plus 130 right now. So yeah, that's a pretty solid line for a fight that I'm expecting to go the full 50 minutes. If you actually like the Zalal side, Zalal probably wins by decision as well. Plus 270, so not too bad either there. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We got Manon Firo going up against short notice Tabitha Ricci. I think it's too short and too early for Tabitha Ricci to actually be coming over to the UFC. Black belt in judo, black belt in jiu-jitsu, main training partner of Mackenzie Dern. Liam, let me tee you up here. Do you think Tabitha Ricci pulls off the upset as a big underdog here, taking the fight on 3 or 4 days notice? Do you think she's live enough to pull it off?
I think it's so hard to know given who she was fighting in the fights that I've seen her compete in. I was not impressed by the competition that she was facing. I thought that what was the girl's name? Anderson or something. I thought that girl showed a lot better skills and fundamentals, and I thought that she won the first round. And so if you're losing rounds to debuting fighters, you're probably not UFC ready, would be my thought. And I just think that despite the fact that she has some of the things you'd want to see in somebody who's going to take on Faro, grappling skills, I watched her fights. Her takedowns were horrendous, in my opinion, against the cage. She just wants to look for cage-based trips, like big reaping ones that are very low percentage. And she was having a hard time doing that again against regional level competition. So I think that she will struggle against somebody who's so physical like Faro. And if you watch the McCourt fight, which is where you see Faro struggle in the grappling, she actually didn't struggle in the grappling that bad. Like, she was getting sweeps, she was getting reversals, she was getting back up to her feet. And she didn't look out of sorts on the ground. And that was a while ago. So I do think that we would probably see Faro roll here. Maybe the line is getting absurd at this point. I think that almost any, fight where you're seeing plus 450, you need a very good reason. And I don't know that Faro's proven enough for that kind of distinction, but I do think that Ricci is just ripe for the taking, and Faro is probably a different class of athlete. So, I kind of get it.
Yeah, so not only is Ricci taking this fight on short notice, she's going up a weight class. She's 5'1" compared to the 5'6" or 5'7" Manuel Firo, and obviously we saw the size discrepancy at the weigh-ins as well. Aaron, do you think that Tabitha Ricci has the opportunity to go off there and spring the upset?
No, for sure not. I would not. I would not be betting on that. But I mean, it's chicks MMA, so you never know what's going to happen. But Faro she looks strong, and I think that's a big factor in women's MMA fights. And who knows, this chick was probably getting ready for Hot Girl Summer, and then she got a fight, and then 3 days she makes weight. So she's probably just getting a paycheck. But yeah, I think it's an uphill battle for her. The fact that she works out with Mackenzie Dern is probably, that's a plus for her, just in terms of training partners and high level competition. But yeah, I think it's too tall of a task, honestly. So it's too short notice for me.
I love that pun. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, dude. I think that Manuel Firo is probably going to cruise here, but I'm not willing to, chuck her in a parlay at minus 600 because if it blows up in my face, I'm like, I only have myself to blame at that point in time.
Exactly.
The spot that I like the most, actually, it just released, was the under 2.5 at minus 160. I know it's a little bit chalky, but I can see a finish from either side here with Firo, obviously, with the striking. But if Ricci gets this fight to the ground, that black belt could come in handy, and we still have some question marks, like Liam was talking about in the Leah McCord fight for Manuel Firo, first pro fight, and she's still showing good things, and she's coming from like a karate and striking background. It leads you to believe that she's actually been working on her full MMA game before actually making her pro debut, and that's a good thing to do to consider. So she's 31 years old. She has to really get it going right now. The Moroz fight would have been great for her, especially if she ended up getting that win. That would launch her into that top 10 at least. But yeah, with Tabitha Ricci here, she needs to go out there and do what a minus 600 does, and I expect her to go out there and finish Tabitha Ricci. I think Ricci might have some success in the UFC when she's able to, one, get a full training camp, and two, actually go fight at her actual weight class. But like my guy Aaron said, this is too tall of a task for Tabitha Ricci to come in on short notice. Paul, I'll let you wrap this matchup up. Who are you feeling here?
Yeah, it's an impossible task that Ricci, this is the type of spot where Ricci just takes the fight just to get her foot in the door. Yeah. She's going to be giving up like 15 pounds probably of weight. Like Firo at the weigh-ins today, she was looking a little bit shaky. But what does that mean? That means that she's probably 140 pounds. Stripped down. When they get in there, you're asking Tabitha Ricci to, one, secure takedowns. And in that, what was it, Anunson or Arneson fight, she struggled to get the takedowns in that fight. So trying to go out there and muscle around someone who's 15 pounds bigger than you, hold, like 10, 15 pounds or 10, 15% body mass index size advantage over top of you. Like, it's a really, really tall order. If she gets to the ground, maybe we'll see, if she's able to get it down, can she even hold it down long enough to secure? It's a tough spot. She's, this is just getting your foot in the door, get a job. I think she has potential at 115 pounds moving forward, but yeah, the cards are stacked against her. Fiorot inside the distance is minus 120 right now, I see, in one spot at least. I don't see a KO prop yet. The tough thing with that, too, is Tabitha Ricci is, she's 5-0. She hasn't lost. Like, we don't know if she's got some sort of insane, chin that we've never seen, never been tested. So, I mean, if she's anything like Dern can take a stern whooping. So, I guess if I was to play anything on this fight, it would be Fiorot inside the distance minus 120.
Liam, what were you going to say, brother?
I was going to say, I thought that she kind of got rocked in that fight with the Anderson chick. So I don't think her chin is exceptional. I don't know that it's terrible either, but I thought that she kind of got rocked and was like reeling in the first round of that fight.
Mm-hmm. Something else to note here as well, they don't have the specific props out for a method of victory, but Tabitha Ricci inside the distance, plus 635. I'm assuming her sub prop is probably going to be around plus 800, plus 900. And if you think that she can spring the upset, go for it, because this could be prime women's MMA, armbar from guard type of moment, especially with the black belt in Tabitha Ricci. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Alan Patrick, another guy who 37 years old, changed his training camp over to Sanford MMA, going up against Mason Jones, who now reps Team Alpha Male. Very, very fun fight for Mason Jones' UFC debut against Mike Davis, probably fight of the year contender there. Aaron, I'll actually let you kick this one off. Who you like in between the heavily juiced, or I should, well, I don't want to make any accusations, but I mean heavily chalked Mason Jones at minus 275 and Alan Patrick at plus 235.
I kind of like Mason Jones in the distance here. I've been fading. Or I have not been fading, actually. I've been doing the opposite, taking old Brazilian dudes, and they've been letting me down. So Patrick here, I think, is in the same boat. Like, he's getting older. I watched his last fight. It looks like he goes for takedowns a lot. And Mason Jones, he just has that relentless pressure. I think that's something that he keeps going. He keeps moving forward. And I think that's really tiring. And Alan Patrick will eventually he's an old dude. No offense to boomers, but I mean, MMA is a young man's sport, so he's getting old, and I think that Mason Jones is due for a nice little knockout or something like that. So I think, that's where I'll be in this fight. Patrick, it looks like he tries to cage wrestle a bunch, and he likes to try to get it to the floor, but I think it's going to be a tough task in this young gun. This Jones dude is good. His last fight was awesome, so I think he almost came back, right? I mean, with that pressure, and that pressure is really what's really tiring, and I think that's what will get Patrick, out of there, so he'll be too tired.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Mason Jones here. Obviously, double champ coming over from the Cage Warriors promotion. I don't really rate it too highly, considering he only won the belt, never defended it, got the UFC call right away. Of course, it looks really nice when you got two shiny belts over both your shoulders, and then obviously making your UFC debut. I think it's one of those situations where even on a loss, his stock went up, man. He showed a lot of great durability, obviously was able to have some success of his own against a high-caliber fighter, Mike Davis, in his own right. But Mason Jones, man, throws with a ton of heat, has a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, I think black belt in judo as well. I think he'll be able to keep the fight where he wants it to. And Alan Patrick, it seems like his striking is almost non-existent. Maybe that's why he's gone over to Sanford MMA, tried to rub off on Henry Hooft a little bit, but I highly doubt we see those types of improvements from one camp to another, especially with a guy that's 37 years old. His striking is pretty much, I'm going to throw one shot out there, throw a kick out there, close that distance, try to push you up against the cage, drag you to the ground. If that doesn't work, my man's in trouble, right? I've only backed Alan Patrick once, and it was against Amir Hadzovic at chalk, and thankfully that one pulled out because I expected Hadzovic to not have any takedown defense, and luckily I was correct that night. But I think Mason Jones will be able to keep this fight vertical, get his striking off, and I agree with a lot of the people, even in the chat here, saying Mason Jones by knockout. I think that's a very live spot here. Alan Patrick is one of those guys that likes to gas a little bit later in fights. So you guys know I'm that round 3 prop hunter. I think this is a solid spot here for that round 3 prop to hit. We got plus 850.
100%.
I usually like that 4-figure plus money on these round 3 props, but the bookmakers and the public is pretty privy to the poor gas tank on Mr. Alan Patrick. But I'll still take a part of that plus 850 for round 3, and also the KO prop on Mason Jones here, because I do think that's quite live. It's currently sitting at plus 100. I will say, plus 1190 on Jones by submission is not too bad for a brown belt against a guy that seems to gas later in fights. So if that choke presents itself, I wouldn't be surprised to see Mason Jones actually attack that. Paul, who are you feeling between Mr. Alan Patrick and Mason Jones?
I'm with you guys. I liked what I saw from Mason Jones on the regional scene coming up, and then even against Mike Davis, a guy who I think Mike Davis is like super underrated. I was backing Mason Jones in that spot against him, despite my my love for Mike Davis. You know, Mike Davis only lost to Gilbert Burns, Sadiq Yusuf on the Contender Series, and that was a banger of a fight on the Contender Series with Sadiq Yusuf. So, I mean, it was a very underrated guy, and there's probably some value on Mason Jones here. Now he's got, you know, a full camp. He's been ready, getting ready for this spot. Patrick is getting a little bit long in the tooth. It's a good opportunity for Mason Jones to, you know, build his brand and, you know, become a future star of the UK market. So Mason Jones, and I don't hate where your guys' head is at on that round 3 prop. I'm just trying to see.
Yeah, I like that.
How juicy can we get this?
Yeah. That would be a great spot to hit, especially against a guy, like I said, with Patrick that does tend to slow down the later the fights goes. Liam, you going to round this out and make this unanimous, or are you going to let your grappling roots hinder you into picking Alan Patrick here?
Never that, Lock. I am also on Mason Jones inside the distance here. I locked that in as soon as the prop market opened up. And I just think that Jones sort of has him covered everywhere. I backed Mike Davis at 3 units last time when he was fighting him. And it wasn't because I wasn't impressed by Davis. It's just because I think that, it wasn't because I wasn't impressed by Jones. It's because I think Davis is a machine. And you see in that fight, he's throwing these bombs, like nuclear bombs. And Jones walks through everything like it's nothing. And I have to say, on sheer durability alone, like I think he justifies the price. Like I don't know that Alan Patrick with any of the like leaping left hands or what he has very herky jerky striking, and I also think that especially these days he's a lot more hesitant to get into an exchange. So he does like drive-by attacks where he runs past the guy and like has to turn and reset. And I think that's part of why he gets so tired. You know, he's just covering a ridiculous amount of distance like he's a sprinter. And I think that against Mason Jones, I think he's probably going to get discouraged by the grappling. You know, we saw Davis get 3 takedowns and very little control time in that first round. And it seemed to frustrate Davis. I feel like if you're doing that to somebody like Mike Davis with that kind of youth and physicality on his side, you know, I could only imagine poor Alan Patrick, you know, tough spot for him.
Yeah,
very, very
I love that. I love that round 3 prop. That's hot. I'm definitely gonna be hitting that. I mean, all that wrestling he's doing, you get tired eventually. He's definitely gonna try. Right? So yeah,
Scott Holtzman was able to finish him in the 3rd round as well, and I think Mason Jones bangs just as hard, if not more, than what Scott Holtzman brings to the table.
Holtzman can't finish a sandwich, and he finished this guy. Let's fucking get it. I'm just looking for the best price right now, boys.
Keep shopping. All right. Speaking of old Brazilians, we got Francisco Trinaldo going up against Mr. Muslim Salikov here. Salikov himself turning 37 a couple of days after this fight, but we got 42-year-old Francisco Trinaldo changing camps as well, going over there to American Top Team. You know, I'm not sure it's going to, like Alan Patrick, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, but the one advantage I will say, and this should obviously pertain to Alan Patrick as well, is getting all those training partners. We know there's these super gyms, right? American Top Team, Sanford MMA, Jackson Wink is not there as much anymore, but these guys are able to go to these training camps and get such different looks compared to what they've been getting for the rest of their career. So I think it's a great thing that Trinaldo decided to go to ATT to try to round out his game. I'm not 100% sure actually who is going to be in his corner, but I could vouch that he'll probably have some of those value cow Thai guys that he's always had in his corner just to have that familiarity. But I think this line is off, man. I think it's very, very off here. I think that this fight's going to play out really close. I think there's a Russian tax on Muslim Salikov here, and just as all Russians pretty much get. But he's not that Russian that most people expect him to be, right? Cody was breaking it down on the stream that I did last night. I want my Russians that wrestle. I don't want my Russians that have King of Kung Fu as their nickname or whatever the hell it is. And I absolutely agree with him, man. This is going to be a close fight. If you watch Salikov's fight, all of his fights are close unless he's knocking the dudes out, right? But this isn't Nordine Taleb. This isn't Ricky fucking Rainey. This is Francisco Trinaldo, who's never been TKO'd or finished inside the UFC via punches or anything like that, right? Shows great durability. He did get hit and hurt a good amount against Jay Herbert, but Jay Herbert, way more active, way more volume, creates way more opportunities for himself than what Muslim Salikov does. He fights very close to the level of his competition, right? He doesn't throw that much. Very low volume from both guys here. And I expect this to go to a judge's scorecard. I think Aaron was talking about the Woodson and Zalal fight going to a judge's scorecard, and it's going to be a split decision that people are going to be yelling robbery. I'd rather be holding that plus 200 ticket on Trinaldo rather than minus 250 on Salikov here. So even if this fight hits the judges' scorecards and Salikov gets his hand raised, I'm still going to feel good about it because we got a close fight as we were expecting it to be, and I expect it to be just that. I think Trinaldo actually might be the one pushing the pace here. Not pushing the pace, but I should say, being the one on his front foot, landing being the one to actually go first, and that might give him the edge on the judges' scorecards where I expect this fight to go. So one of my three best bets best prop bets that I gave last night on the prop show with Cody was Francisco Trinaldo to win by decision. Last night it was plus 385. Right now we still have it sitting at plus 385. I think there's a ton of value there. Even if you don't want to be greedy, take him straight. Plus 200 is an amazing line, I think. But I like Trinaldo here. I think he wins this fight. Paul, how are you feeling about this one?
I love your breakdown of it. And I know Brittany Palmer's future ex may not like the fact that we're backing an aging Brazilian in this fight. He's 42 years old, but the guy for years now gets absolutely zero respect from. I think it was like a pick'em against Jai Herbert last time. Obviously that was a bit of a dicey fight, but the savvy veteran comes through in round 3. I love Master Nduba. I always have. The guy's won me a whole bunch of money. I'm already in on the plus 210. I don't know whether he probably doesn't find the finish. Muslim Salikov is tough in his own right. Him by decision, I think, is like plus 600. I've seen a bunch of people hitting that. I'm just on the straight. I love it. I think he's taking on a Russian. He probably has the wrestling advantage in this spot. Yeah. Probably has the grappling advantage. He's a former Brazilian kickboxing champion. It's a little bit more like straightforward type of striking. He's not going to have any spinning shit or anything like that. Guy's been super durable. It's like, what does Master Nduba have to do to get respect from the books? As long as the books are not respecting my boy, I'm going to be betting him. So plus 210 earlier in the week. I honestly think it should be pretty much a pick 'em in this spot. Absolutely. I don't understand the line whatsoever. So dog or pass, easy.
Yeah. Another obviously interesting part of this fight is that Trinaldo is going up to 170 pounds. If you guys remember, he missed weight by 4 pounds against Jay Herbert last time at 155 pounds. Now, deciding at 42 years old, your boy ain't cutting any more weight, and he looked pretty good at the weigh-ins from what I was able to quickly see of him. Filled out pretty well for a 170-pounder. Liam, how are you feeling about this one? Are we giving too much credit to Francisco, or do you like Salikov here?
I think that maybe. My answer would be maybe. And the reason I say that is I think that the odds makers are sort of waiting for the bottom to fall out. And I think especially each time that he's able to pull a rabbit out of his hat, it makes it more likely that the next time will be the time that the bottom falls out. And so I do think that the Jai Herbert fight was just concerning on a few different levels. Number one, he was getting to his takedown entries. He was getting takedowns, and he wasn't able to control very much from top, and he was losing the positions. And so he was then forced back into striking exchanges where he was getting lit up. Like, his corner was not happy with him because he was too tired to feint in round 2. So he stopped feinting and just started eating punches and falling all over the place. And because he's a gangster, he came back in round 3 and just bit down on his mouthpiece and knocked him out fast, by the way. I think that if he maybe didn't knock him out at the beginning of that round, he might be losing that fight by decision. So I think that, Trinaldo, I don't like the 170-pound look, although I do like it at this point in his career. I don't think he has another choice. But in addition, man, I think I might be more impressed by Salikov than you guys. I think that's the real difference in this breakdown, because I rate Trinaldo quite high, and I think that he does have a tremendous amount of skills, but I think that Salikov is a good striker. I think that he doesn't let anything go for free in his fights. Like if you go for a bad kick, he's going to put you on your ass, even though he doesn't wrestle. Like he does that sand to like pick you up and make you look embarrassed. And he did that to Easy Dos Santos a few times. By round 3, he was battering him. And I thought that, he's able to line up spinning attacks better than almost anybody I've seen in the UFC. He puts that spinning back kick in the dead center of people's bodies, and they react poorly almost every time. And I think that he could very well be the first guy to knock out Massaranduba. I really feel that way. I don't know that I'm going to have any action. I do see that the line is closing a bit. Salikov was at minus 250. He's now approaching minus 235. And I think that that's going to continue to close a little bit. I could get involved if there's a ton of action late, but I don't want to get involved unless it's under minus 185. And I don't know that line's going to ever exist. So we'll see.
All right.
Question for the Seltzer King over there.
What's up?
So when you buy like the mixer pack, actually never mind. I'm just bad at doing math. Never mind. There's 4 flavors. Each layer is. So I just finished the cherries. I'm into the ruby reds now. Cheers, bro.
What's
Cheers
the
it up.
what's the seltzer count at right now?
I have coffee.
I bought 12.
I got 3.
12.
I'm 3.
I don't know anybody really in this town. Mayo's got a bunch of kids, so maybe I'll go and try to make some friends tonight. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens by the end of this show.
How much you at,
Yes,
Paulie?
sir.
What's that?
How many seltzers you at?
This is my 4th one. Just cracked my 4th.
All right, you guys are almost on par with each other. Looking forward to how you guys look come the main event. All right, let's move on. Actually, Aaron, you're actually up next year. Do you like the 42-year-old Brazilian stud Francisco Trinaldo?
I don't bet on old Brazilian dudes anymore, man. Like it's over.
Jacare broke your heart.
I still hear Jacare's arm snapping like randomly when I'm
just
walking.
wake up at night, fucking like.
Yeah, exactly. That shit was so loud. After that, I was like, I think it was Verdum in PFL, and then Jacare, and then after Jacare, I was like, all right, I'm never fucking betting on old Brazilian dudes again. I think I would bet on Trinaldo if he went to PFL and he started juicing up again. I think that's probably his 5-year plan is win $1 million in PFL in 5 years. So he'll do his thing here. But yeah, no, I can't back him.
Did you see him at the weigh-ins?
I didn't actually.
He is circumnavigating.
Well, he's also
right now.
He's got a summer bod. You can't get
as usual. Just his face was a little bit more full.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
so you got Trinaldo, or sorry, you got Salikov here, right?
I got Salikov here. I spinning back kick, KO, 100%.
All right.
I think 100%. I just can't back these old dudes anymore. They're getting old.
I hear that.
Which is, this is a young man's sport. I can't do it.
Well, Muslim Salikov again, turned 37.
Let's go, Liam. What do you think, Liam?
The last thing I was going to say, it's the body work. I think that Salikov actually has the tools to tax somebody who's going to have cardio problems already. Like he punches the body hard, and the spinning back kicks. It'll only take 2 or 3 of those, I think, before Massaranduba is like on a gas mask in the corner. So
yeah, I don't rate Herbert highly.
Can I say that the reports of Trinaldo being a gasser highly exaggerated? This guy is always still there in round 3. I think it's and my boy Cody. If you're Brazilian and you're old, he just assumes you're a gasser. Brazilian gas tank. Yada 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 yada. Like
I'm guilty of that.
I don't know, man. I think Trinaldo. He's on some. We all need to get on the Trinaldo program.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Long.
I think it's an age fade, if anything. I just think at 42, having the same cardio that you had at 38 is tough. You know what I mean? So I think it could. That's what when I say the bottom falling out. it's him having 3 minutes of cardio instead of 7.5 or 10. That for me is what I see.
Nah,
no,
it's
all right.
100%.
I'll be really sad if it happens, but it's fair.
I don't know.
Me too.
All right, let's keep things moving along here. We got Tanner Boser going up against the thick Ilir Latifi. My man just continues to just chill out at heavyweight. Paul, I'll actually let you kick this one off. You think the Swede is going to topple our Canadian brethren, Tanner Boser, or do you think that Boser goes out there and get the dub?
Well, step one for like 2020 to 2021, I mean, really since like GSP retired, is like if you fade Canadians when they're big favorites, you're way ahead. Like we fucking suck.
Boser, yeah, last time around, right?
Here's what it really comes down to. Like, should Ilir Latifi be fighting at heavyweight? Absolutely not. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Watched him at the weigh-ins today. It's just like he looked like he's put on a little bit of mass, but it's not necessarily great mass. Like, they're 2 pounds apart at this point.
Yeah.
It doesn't. But it's not all muscle. Like he's definitely put on some flab. He had some love handles. It is what it is.
Are you fat shaming right now?
I mean, he's got less love handles than I do, so like he's doing fine. Don't worry. But I'm Canadian, so I would obviously get finished in the first round. No, I just think what I've seen from Tanner Boser is good cardio, good stand up. Nobody's actually really like shot in for a takedown on the guy.
Yeah.
And
no one.
His ground game is very questionable. I mean, other people are bringing up Latifi being a gasser. He doesn't actually have a gas tank. But just like if you tried to hold down 280-pound Derek Lewis when you're like a 220-pound man for any extended period of time, you're going to be exhausted as well. Just the fact that he survived against that murderer is impressive enough to me. I'm already on Latifi plus 180 earlier in the week. I couldn't help myself. I took a little sprinkle of Latifi by sub 13-1 at Bet 99, which is like a real off-the-chain book only available to Canadians. I think it's like plus 1,100, plus 1,200 available on most of like the best fight odds places. I just think like if there's such a question mark of what Tanner Boser can do down there. Maybe he's great. Maybe his defense is great down there. But if you're Ilir Latifi, you are getting this fight to the ground. You're getting it to the ground immediately. And hang a 13-1 on that. I mean, he got like a standing guillotine on OSP. God, Lord knows how that's possible when you're like, sorry for short shaming, but like 5 foot. Like nothing. 5 foot, like 7 or 5'8".
Unreal, like, dude. Are you kidding me?
I know. I'm just coming after you disrespected my boy Trinaldo. But yeah, Latifi and Latifi by sub. Let's fucking go.
All right. Fading the Canadian brethren, but I can't blame you. Liam, the last time I feel like I actually, when running the tape on Tanner Boser, trying to find that fight where we actually see some grappling, it's the Dennis Moldarov fight from over 4 years ago when he's fighting over there in Russia. And it didn't look too good on tape there. I'm not, you can't just assume that his cardio his grappling is going to get better over that amount of time until we actually see it inside the cage. So how are you feeling about this matchup? You think Latifi is successful with putting on his Khabib or his best Khabib impression and getting Boser down over and over again?
Well, I had to give my clap to Paul because I missed the big plus money on Latifi that I would have wanted. I'm now waiting to see whether I'm going to play the Latifi money line. I think that there's still some value on it at plus 150, but I like a little bit more value to play it. I think that you can favor Boser here because of the big age gap, but only ever so slightly. I think that Latifi is the much more physical athlete. I think that like I couldn't understand some of the I thought Boser had upside against Andrei Arlovski because Andrei Arlovski doesn't wrestle, doesn't grapple at all. Like he's just going to be content to strike with you. And I thought he won that fight. I had 5 units on Boser at minus 250, the opening price. It closed closer to minus 400, minus 365. And I still think that he won the fight, and I thought that it was a justifiable bet, but I regretted it because he doesn't box at all. Like I went back and watched, he throws so few punches. He pumps the jab and never throws it. He only pumps it to get inside for a leg kick. And I really think that judges don't care about visual leg kicks unless you're using leg kicks to establish something. So if I leg kick you and then punch you in the face, I've prevented you from moving and now I'm making something happen. But if I just kick your leg and you punch me in the face 5 times, it's like, yeah, I guess you won. Like you never did anything to really damage me. And I felt bitter about that one, but I looked at this tape. I said, Smolderov, who the hell is Smolderov? And he's absolutely, grinding him out round after round. Granted, Bozer shows some upside. He has good balance. He's pretty decent at defending the shots when they're pressed up against the cage, but out in space, the balance goes a little bit to shambles. And I also think that somebody like Smolderov literally just used athleticism to close the gap and double him head in the chest and took him over with strength. Why can't Latifi do that? There's no reason that I could see. He was picking up Derek Lewis, walking him into the cage 3 feet up in the air. That's a remarkable feat of strength. And Daniel Cormier, when I'm going back listening to the tape, says, listen, I trained with Latifi. He's one of the strongest guys I've ever grappled with physically, period. And I think when you're getting that kind of praise from the champ, and then we're seeing it backed up in evidence, I really think that somebody like Daniel Cormier actually diminished themselves to make 205 pounds. I think that Latifi gets all this hate. Man, not everybody's built to be, this freak-looking athlete with no body fat. But Latifi's a freak in his own right. He's a guy who can lift you up over his head with the same kind of Daniel Cormier crotch lift, throw you sideways, ass over tea kettle, and he can also body you in the clinch. He's a Greco-Roman wrestler. It's a different style where he's wrapping up your upper body and throwing you. I think Bozer is going to find out the hard way that Ilir Latifi, he said going into this fight, he's going to take me down. What makes you think you're going to get back up? I think that Latifi, if you can criticize him for anything, it's that he doesn't create space to strike on top. He is just going to glue himself to you as hard as he can. And I think Latifi by sub plus 1,200 was an easy bet to make. I'm on that myself. Good stab at plus 1,300. I tried to get it as soon as it came out, and that was the best price I could find. So good snipe to you. And I'm excited. I think that if late money comes back on Bozer, I'm going to get in on the Latifi money line as well. I think that he's got a lot of upside in this fight.
I'm not picking I'm not betting on Bozer in this spot, but man, you guys are making me question my pick on Bozer actually win this fight. Aaron, are you on Latifi as well, or are you going to give some credence to my Canadian brother here?
Yeah, no, I'm team Latifi all day. I got to back my fellow short dude, so I think he's going to crush. Just styles make fights, right? And I think this for him is a good matchup. It looks like, for the most part, that Bozer likes to stick to the outside, kind of box and stuff like that. But we don't really know how he would do off his back. But Ilir, he's got the credentials to take it to the mat and whatnot. So I think for him, I'm surprised he's this big of a underdog, honestly. So I definitely have to poke there. And I agree with those props. Like, why not? Especially that sub prop and stuff. So Team Short Squad all day for sure. Let's go.
I guess I should back our fellow Short Squad as well too, standing at a intimidating 5'5" over here. But we got. I just like. I'm a fan of the leg kick approach from Bozer, but that obviously leads itself right into potentially getting caught and taken down by Latifi, which is a question mark for me as well. I don't agree with the odds. That's why I'm not even bothering playing with Bozer here. I'm not even going to bother parlaying him or anything. Maybe in a long shot or something like that, since I am picking him to win. I think he'll do a good enough job in terms of just maintaining that distance, getting his leg kicks off, debilitating the forward approach of Ilir Latifi, hopefully taking the pop off of the power that he has to actually land these takedowns. And I do believe, I think Paul was talking about it. Obviously, Latifi is going to gas when you're trying to hold down a 280-pound man. But I still do believe that there are some cardio issues there. I do believe that Bozer will be the more fresher guy in the third round. And you got to believe that he probably learned his lesson in the Arlovsky fight. Like, okay, I can't just leg kick here. I got to go out there and try to create some moments. Andrei Arlovsky had moments in that fight with striking. He didn't drop or rock Bozer by any means, but he was landing the more impactful shots that the judges were actually scoring. So hopefully Bozer can go back to buttfuck nowhere, BC, wherever the hell he's from, and be like, all right, let me watch the tape. Let me try to make the adjustments, and hopefully I can come out there and beat a guy that I know is just going to try to grapple fuck me here. Let me try to maintain my distance, get my leg kicks off, and see if I can, nullify the grapple heavy approach from Latifi. No real confidence here, but I will be on the island here with Bozer. Liam, did you have something to interject there?
Yeah, two last quick things that I thought of, which was number one, Latifi has excellent ability to catch a leg kick as it's landing and turn it into a takedown. I was blown away watching back some of the tape because he gets hit hard by the kick, but acknowledges that it's going to happen up front, drops his level down because he's so short, and he's able to elevate it on a single and take that, which I was impressed by on tape. But the other thing I wanted to say was I believe that Latifi's a better boxer than Tanner Bozer, and that if he is changing hands with him, he could knock him out. And I'm just going to say that because Latifi has been in the pocket with guys. Granted, he's a little bit slower. He's a little hittable. Man, he hits with reckless abandon, and he throws hard as shit to the body as well. I've seen him throw one hard shot that brings somebody's hands down and rock them upstairs. The OSP fight, how do you submit somebody with a standing guillotine? It's when they're completely rocked, and he had OSP flailing all over the place, and then he's able to stand and guillotine him because he's got fire hydrant arms and just strength out the ass. I think that Latifi is an impressive physical specimen, and unless the bottom dropped out on him, I think he's got a lot of upside, man.
God
Let's
damn,
go.
guys. You guys are killing me over here. Team Canada, let's go.
You just got to bet Latifi now so you don't get left out by the rest of the crew here, pal.
I think that's what's going to end up happening. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Montana De La Rosa going up against Ariani Lipski. Heavy chalk here on De La Rosa, minus 265 is what she currently sits at. Return on Lipski is plus 225, and I believe we are down to my guy Liam to kick things off here. You like the wrestling approach from Montana? How do you rate her wrestling? And do you think she has the chops to go out there and ground the non-violence queen, Ariani Lipski?
Well, I feel like I got to the party so late on this fight. Everybody's first opinion that I heard from this card was about this fight. And so I put it to the bottom of my research pile. I was like, well, I probably have already missed the value. And that's how I feel. I think that De La Rosa is the side. I think that Lipski doesn't leave you a ton to be impressed by. I did have a ticket on Lipski in that Shevchenko fight, which is one of my great embarrassments in life. And so, yeah, she's on the never bet again list because I don't rate Shevchenko highly at all. And now I can see that I shouldn't be rating Lipski highly at all either. I was impressed by the knee bar. I thought it was like tricky, weird grappling, but Luana Carolina hasn't shown much in her UFC run, so I don't know how to rate Lipski's. Apparently she changed camps. I don't know exactly what impact that will have in one outing. So, barring a exceptional improvement of skills, I think Montana De La Rosa is probably the side. I don't think I'll have any action on this fight, but maybe Montana inside the distance if I was to get involved. I think she's going to have a tremendous amount of top control in this fight.
When you have Anthony Shevchenko looking like a Russian Khabib, it's not a good look, especially if you're on the Ariani Lipski side. I do want to quickly acknowledge my guy Dan Goldstein here. De La Rosa TKO 13-1 for a potential ground and pound finish, just like Shevchenko did last time around against Lipski. Aaron, you on the same side here with De La Rosa, or do you think that Lipski pulls it out of her ass once again?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm on De La Rosa. I think her props are actually priced really nicely for that type a bet. Like that TKO prop, I think, what would you say, was 13-1?
Yeah.
Even the under, like, I think these are priced really well. Like, I think Montana's gonna try to take this to the mat. And she's got wrestling credentials and she's good at that. So I could definitely see her getting finishes in a multitude of different ways. So I'd like to cover those. Probably, yeah, like definitely gonna play some of the props, definitely gonna play the under, I think. I mean, there was a picture of Ariane Lipski chilling with Kobe Covington, though. So maybe she's getting some extra rounds in here and there. But
are you sure that wasn't fully out of Vienna?
I know
mixed up.
Oh, was it?
You getting your Brazilians mixed up?
Yeah, I mean, I've had 5 White Claws, so
it's all good. So you're on De La Rosa and inside the distance, yeah?
Yes, for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think those are priced really well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm on the De La Rosa side here too. It seems like the fight that the favorite will have the least amount of resistance, coming back at them. I really do like her ability to get the fight to the ground. I think she has a high school wrestling background. I'm not 100% sure she actually made it to college because she actually ended up having a kid nice and early. And I'm not sure if that's actually, impeding her effect or her ability to go to college and actually continue that wrestling. But there is footage of her wrestling back in the day. And you see it when she does have success inside the UFC, right? Nadia Kassem able to ground her relatively easily. Mara Romero Barella, same thing, same fight. It's when she's fighting much better strikers. Now, Lipski on paper seems like she has a striking advantage, but there's a reason I start off the breakdown by saying non-violence queen and Lipski, because she's just not bringing any of that heat that she used to have back in KSW. Like, she was very hyped coming into the UFC. Minus 255 favorite in both of her first fights, and she drops the ball. Molly McCann and Joanne Calderwood. Then she goes out there and beats a 36-hour short notice opponent in Isabel DePadua, who was having success of her own, getting takedowns and having some good top control. And then she goes out there and knee bars Luana Carolina, and then obviously gets Khabib by Antonina Shevchenko last time around. So not a good look, especially going up against a Montana who's probably getting better on a fight-to-fight basis. She's really comfortable over there at Team Elevation in Colorado now, and you got to believe that's going to be helping her cardio too. And I was very impressed with her in the Bueno Silva fight, even though she got it was a draw. She's still landing takedowns in that second and third round, even though Bueno Silva's having some success in that striking realm. So I think De La Rosa's striking game is slowly getting better. I will give the slight edge to Lipski here, but not by a lot. I don't think she's going to torture on the feet. And not to mention, great durability from De La Rosa as well, too. Like, with the Viviane Araujo fight alone, her nose was leaking all over the place, and she's still trying to put combinations and try to will herself to victory. Obviously, she came up short in that fight. But yeah, I like De La Rosa here. I think she wins almost any way that she wants. I think Lipski doesn't have anything off of her back. She's almost a fish out of water off of her back. I'd be surprised if this is a women's MMA armbar from guard type of situation. And I think she just doesn't do a good job in terms of getting back to her feet. Like Liam had mentioned, she is over there at ATT now. I just don't see that helping her too much from one fight to another, especially when you have such a disadvantage in the grappling realm, which I expect De La Rosa to be super successful with. And I already took a shot on her. Minus 250 earlier in the week. I thought that was a great spot. I think there's even value up to like minus 300, to be honest, as I do believe she cruises here. There's very little resistance from the Lipski side of things. And I like that 13-1 prop as well that my guy Dan Goldstein was able to pull up for us. So I might take a little bit of a sprinkle on that. Under 2.5, another good spot too. I think that Lipski, if she does win, no way it's by decision. She probably ends up getting some fluke Hail Mary KO of some sort, but I don't even see that happening either. So yep, I do like De La Rosa, and I like her inside the distance. I said decision on the prop show last night. I've completely changed my mind. I think she goes up and wrecks her as well. So De La Rosa inside the distance. Paulie Shags, how are you feeling about this one?
I mean, this fight could go poorly for De La Rosa if she wasn't able to secure a takedown. But Molly Meatball McCann was able to get this girl to the ground twice. No problems. It's simple as I think De La Rosa sticks to the game plan. She's very smart. She's got like mutant level like durability. It's insane. The girl is so tough, such a gamer. You just got to get the fight to the mat. I don't hate your guys like your ideas of like to defend against the arm bar from guard. Maybe you just take the under 2.5 plus 200 in this spot. Like I think
that's a pretty hot price.
That's a pretty hot price. Obviously, it's women's flyweight division. Do we see the most amount of finishes? No, but this is definitely the type of fight where I could see something like that coming through. The pick is Montana De La Rosa. I think if she sticks to the game plan of take this fight to the mat, I don't really value her stand-up game until round 3. Her cardio seems to be on point. So like most of her best striking, the best striking that she's ever shown in the game has been usually in the later rounds when her opponent is tired a little bit. It could go bad early on if she's not able to secure takedowns, but I really don't have too much doubt that she is going to secure those takedowns. I don't hate the under 2.5 rounds, as I said earlier, plus 200. Montana De La Rosa is the pick. A little bit juiced at minus 300, but you got to pay to play.
Yes, sir. I'm glad that we're all on the same side here with Montayo Rosa, and that brings us to our next fight between Makwan Amir and Kamwala Kirk. We got short notice Kamwala Kirk jumping in as a plus 165 favorite. He did open up a little bit higher at plus 225. The love is coming in on Kirk. We got Makwan coming in at minus 190 as well. Aaron, I'll actually let you kick this one off. You think the short notice Kamwala Kirk has anything to give to Makwan, or you think Makwan rolls here?
I don't love that it's short notice. I wish it was not short notice and he had a full camp for Kamu, but I'm from Hawaii, so obviously I love the Hawaiian wave fighters, and Kamwala Kirk is definitely I've watched his previous fights and he does decently well. I think he's at Fight Ready right now. Is that his new camp? Which is I've seen that the line's been dipping a bit, and I don't know if that's the reason, but I mean, a short notice fight against Americani isn't great because there's going to be a lot of grappling, and you got to be in shape for that. So that's what's kind of deterring me from putting a bet on Kamuela. But I mean, I'll probably be drunk enough at that point where I'll probably put a bet on Kamuela. But sober me doesn't love it. But yeah, I think Americani. Just the fact that it was a short notice fight is a big one. I think it would be a much closer fight if it was a full camp, because Kamu does have skills. It looks like in his last fight he was mixing it up a lot into the body and whatnot. But I think it was his contender series fight, he just completely gassed out. So when I see that makes me not want to take him in a short notice fight. So yeah, I think my pick is Americani. So yeah. That's what I got.
How do you think he gets it done?
I could see him pulling off a sub. That anaconda joke that he has is pretty. I love it. It's pretty lethal. So I think he can. Yeah. I think he can wrap it up. But it's one of those chokes like Ortega's guillotine, right? Like if you get it, you get it. Like I think he can probably wrap that up, maybe. But I think he gets it done in the distance. Like I said, I think like cardio is a big deal for Kamu, but being at Fight Ready, who knows? Who knows what they're on over there? I think they got some stuff brewing.
Yeah, I think if Americani was a more combat character, that fatality would be an anaconda or a dart stroke of some sort, taking home your neck for sure. I actually like the dog here. I do like Kirk. Like you said, the short notice nature is a little bit skeptical. He is fresh off of a fight, though. I believe 3 or 4 weeks ago, he did fight Daniel Swain in that LFA main event and was able to make him retire on the stool. That's the second time we've actually seen Daniel Swain retire on a pretty big stage, at least MMA hardcore wise. The last time was against Mr. TJ Laramie, fellow Canadian, making him quit on the stool, I believe, after round 1. But Kirk brings some good things to the table. A black belt in jiu-jitsu, which leads me to believe that he could potentially be able to stop the anaconda or dart stroke, maybe at least know what he's doing in those situations. If Makwan gets the fight to the ground, which I think he will, he's a great wrestler. I think he's the better wrestler in this situation. He should be able to ground it, but I think that Kirk will be able to hold his own. And the interesting thing about that Billy Q fight, the contender series fight that you're talking about, Aaron, where Kirk did actually gas. First of all, I thought it was just Billy Q doing Billy Q shit, right? Billy Q doing the Homer Simpson approach, letting his opponent get a 10-8 in that first round, and then he comes back in the second 2 and potentially finishes them in the second or third round. But recently somebody let me know that Kirk actually had a broken rib in that fight. You got to believe that's got to hinder your cardio, especially when you're trying to be like breathing and all that stuff, right? So I was surprised to see his output and activity fall off a cliff in that second round, especially with how good he was doing in that first round. And not to mention, my guy was a minus 290 favorite in that fight against Billy Q. That just goes to show what people were thinking about him going into that contender series fight. So I think he still has a very bright future. Obviously, he went on to lose his next fight against, I believe the kid's name was Bruno Souza. I could be off on that. But a very close fight, a very competitive fight, stayed on the feet for the majority of it. You could have gone either way. I believe it was a split decision loss. And then he goes out there and wins 2 straight fights, both by finish, to show that he's still out there and he could still be a threat to potentially make it into the UFC and obviously do some good things in this division too. I like the kid, man. I think he has some skills. I think he's the better striker in this fight. I think he'll be able to give Amir some trouble on the feet. And I see a lot of people, when I bring that argument up, they're like, oh, Makwan was lighting up Shane Burgos in that first round before Burgos was able to come back and pull off the victory himself. But we've seen Burgos and how he reacts to like being hit, right? Like his striking defense is just not that great. Great striker, but striking defense leaves a lot to be desired. He's getting touched up. So I'm not putting too much stock into Makwan touching him up in that first round. So I think Kirk will have the advantage on the feet. I think his black belt should help him out enough on the ground to stay out of too much trouble. And I think that Makwan himself has some cardio issues that he has to deal with too. So if Kirk can, at least get some good 10 minutes or 12 minutes of work in there, I think he should be able to light up Makwan here and actually either pull off a decision or get a late finish here. So I do like the value on the underdog. I completely understand why the line is being pushed the way that it is, because people are seeing that Kirk is not just one of those short notice guys that you should just throw to the side. We had that guy a couple weeks ago, Juan Carlo, whatever the fuck his name is. That was one of those pushover guys that people are able to go over there and beat on a short notice nature. I don't think that Kirk is one of those guys. So I think that Kirk actually poses off here, probably decision or late finish, like I said. Paul, you think Kirk has a chance here, or are you going with Mr. Finland, Makwan Americani?
I'm going with Mr. Finland, but I don't love it, and I don't love the price. The fact of the matter is Mr. Finland has never thrown more than 33 significant strikes in 9 UFC fights. You don't win fights that way. So what's he going to have to do? He's going to have to take Camuela down to the ground. It sounds like Camuela has a pretty good jiu-jitsu game, so he'll be able to keep himself out of trouble, one would have to imagine. But he's going to have to hold him down, take him down, hold him down, and secure him. This is a fight I'll be watching live. This is more of a fight that I would be more interested in seeing how it plays out down there. I see Makwan securing these takedowns and holding position, but it's one of those fights that's just like, who's the, like, is it Goddard? Like, you got to like look at like who the judge or the referee in there is and what he's allowing. Because if it could be the type of fight where like Makwan secures these takedowns, he's quite good at like holding position, and potentially he's able to hold it out for 2 rounds and win the fight. But it's really, really hard to back him at like minus 200. The guy just doesn't throw enough strikes. So it's like, if he's not securing takedowns, he's fucked. So yeah, at the current price, I guess if I had to make a bet, it would be Kirk, but I don't like the short notice like the rest of you guys. It's I'll pick at Makwan, but yeah, more of a fight I'm going to watch live, see if I can catch some value here. Maybe catch it a little decision prop or something after round 1.
All right, Liam, it's interesting that Kirk has actually been able to make the weight on short notice here, fighting down at 145 pounds, which is his natural weight class. The interesting thing is he fought Daniel Swain 3 weeks ago at 155 pounds. Maybe that's just him trying to stay active, taking whatever fights that he can get. But he looked great on the scale to me this morning. He looked solid. He looked in shape. Wasn't breathing heavy or anything like that. Didn't seem like he had a bad weight cut. How do you think he matches up with Makwan here? Do you think he pulls off the upset?
I think that, like you said, he's not one of the guys that we're going to dismiss offhand. I do think that he's a pretty talented guy. I didn't think that the Billy Q fight was a good look, but I had also heard what you heard about his rib. And so then I think, wow, what a tough guy. And on top of that, I do think that he's been showing improvement over the course of his fights, which is what you always want to see. If somebody struggles, it's inevitable in the fight game that somebody's going to run into obstacles. So it's how they respond to them, and if they have, an improvement each time out. I do think, though, on the other side, Makwan Amirkhani's been in the UFC since 2015. He's got a lot more experience. He's been taking on such a higher level of competition. It's shocking. Edson, his last time out, I cashed a ticket on Edson there, but that's the kind of guy I'm looking to play if I want to bet against Amirkhani. I'm looking for somebody who's solid, who I know is going to be able to stuff takedowns, and who I know can absolutely punish on the feet. And I just think that this fight is going to be competitive. I think it's going to be a lot of grappling. I think both guys are comfortable grappling. And I think that Makwan's probably more physical, more dynamic athlete, and probably has a little bit better grappling. And so I would favor Makwan. I think he probably has a more likely chance of submitting, his opponent. But I also think that Makwan in round 3, if he hasn't gotten a submission, will look shaky as he has in the past. Although I do like what I've heard from Makwan in the lead up to this fight, which is he's saying, I stopped partying and I want to take my career serious. And 5 years into your UFC run, you sort of have to do that or you'll be shown the door. And so I think, if Makwan shows up in good shape, I don't think he just was having striking success against Burgos. He was really impressive with his physical power, lifting somebody as big as Shane, as strong as Shane, and kind of having his way with him in round one. Now, granted, watching that fight live, I think we all knew that was an unsustainable pace that was going to get him finished. But I think if he's in really good shape and he can make that grappling work for 8 minutes, I don't see why he can't win this decision. And I think that he probably has as much finishing upside in the first 7.5 minutes as Kirk has in the back 7.5 minutes. So I'm probably going to stay away from this fight, but I think it's going to be a fun one. So I'm excited.
For sure. A lot of people I'm seeing in the chat are kind of like criticizing the level of competition that Kirk has been facing, but you're almost at the mercy of the promotions that you're fighting for, right? It's not like, if he had the opportunity to go out there and fight Shane Burgos and Edson Barboza, I'm sure he would take those opportunities and showcase what kind of fighter he is. So I feel like the jury is still out in terms of how good Kamala Kirk can actually be, and we should be able to find that out this weekend. All right, let's move on to the main card here, and I do want to take this opportunity to remind you guys, please do hit that like, and I do have the Twitter accounts of the fellas here in the description, so make sure you guys hit those links up and hit that follow. These guys are great follows, great insight, and obviously from my guy Aaron over there, you're going to get some great seltzer opinions, so please do make sure you guys check him out. All right, let's move on to the main card here. We got Tom Breeze, the forever untrustworthy Tom Breeze, and the forever favorite Tom Breeze, going up against Antonio Hoyo, untrustworthy in his own right. We got minus 240 on Tom Breeze, plus 200 on Antonio Hoya, and I believe we're right back to myself. So I'll be going with I'll go with Tom Breeze here, but with very little confidence, man. I think he has all the skills in the world. When he's on. He could look like a top 5 kind of guy with the striking. Very patient in the striking realm. Great jab, great power in his striking as well. Good technique. He's working on that grappling game too. He has a bunch of submission victories actually earlier on in his career, but you do see that he's in Polaris and all these other grappling competitions to try to round out his game. But if you want to just strictly look at that Amir Khani fight, that Omari Akhmedov fight, ooh, goddamn, you can't be pulling guard within the first 10, 20 seconds of a fight against a Russian wrestler who knows that's probably the best defense to all of his takedown attempts. So Breeze puts a little bit too much confidence into that guillotine and gives that pretty much that entire first round. Then the second round tries to go for some more submissions and falls flat. And then it seems like he was completely shot after that, demoralized, if that's what you want to call it. And you see Amir Khan, or I keep wanting to say Amir Khani, it's close enough. Omari Akhmedov, goes out there and locks up that arm triangle choke, and it didn't seem like there was any resistance at all from Tom Breeze, which leads me to believe that he's like, oh fuck, everything that I want to try, it doesn't work, so let's just give up and let's call it a night. But Antonio Hoyo seems like a guy that he should go out there and outwill. Seems like a guy that he should go out there and be more mentally prepared to outstrike a guy in Hoyo, who, in my opinion, Hoyo's strengths are his striking. He has good leg kicks and he has good body kicks and all that stuff, especially standing at the height that he's at, and he has a lot of ferocity and behind those strikes. But I think he's going to find himself in trouble here with Tom Breeze, who should be able to outstrike him. But am I willing to pay minus 240 on Breeze here? No. Am I willing to pay plus 200 on Hoyo? No. Let me just sit back and just see how this fight goes out, and let's see if Breeze can distance himself from those gaffes that he's had in the Omari Akhmedov fight, in the Brendan Allen fight. Sure, he can go out there and beat 40 or 52-year-old Dan Kelly. Sure, that looks great and all that, but let's get back to when he's beating guys like Keita Nakamura, who's a respectable opponent, a guy that he should be able to beat. I actually rank Hoyo lower than Keita Nakamura. So if he doesn't beat Hoyo here, I'd be very, very disappointed. And I don't think we'll ever see Tom Breeze achieve that potential that we had for him. He's only 29 years old. Let's keep that in mind, right? He still has a solid 4 or 5 years to completely pan out and potentially achieve that potential that we had for him. But I'm not counting my money yet if I'm going to be placing him in parlays, because I won't be placing him in parlays. I'm staying away from this fight. I like me some Tom Breeze to win. Either by decision. I just don't know the method here, but I do say that he wins this fight. Paul, how do you feel about Mr. Tom Breeze going up against Antonio Hoyo?
I mean, Tom Breeze minus 240 is goddamn terrifying.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, I don't want to attack him in any way, shape, or form, but like there's a mental hurdle going on there with this guy. I mean, I watched him at the weigh-ins today. guy looked more jacked than ever. He's finally filled out that 185-pound frame. He's put on the 15 pounds of muscle. He's ready to go. Like, he looks big. He looks strong. He's obviously more technically sound, especially on the feet in this fight. Like, everything. If there wasn't that mental hurdle, I think I would be more than willing to make him like a featured parlay piece in this spot. But it is what it is. I hope that he gets over that mental hurdle, and then I have the actual faith in him. But against Omari Akhmedov, he gets taken down, he gets muscled, he gets bullied, and he throws one significant strike in that fight. Just like, how can you really? And there wasn't. It just, he kind of seemed to just accept bottom when he got it. It's hard to lay the wood when I just don't know if the guy's head is in the game on any given day. It seems like it probably changes for him on any given day in general. But I will say that at the weigh-ins today, like, he looked every bit of a 185-pounder. I'll be picking him to win. I hope he does win. I think he's got a lot of talent, a lot of upside, but I can't be laying the wood at minus 250. So it's a pass, but Breeze is the pick.
I like it. Liam, you're going to trust the mental state of Tom Breeze tomorrow night, or are you picking Ahoyo here?
Well, I could share with you, to give you some context on how I typically view a Tom Breeze fight. I backed KB Bowler plus 218 against Tom Breeze.
I didn't even back KB Bowler.
Dude,
What the fuck?
I'll tell you, and I am still plus money on my fading of Tom Breeze bets, because I also bet Akhmedov against Tom Breeze, and I have not yet bet Ahoyo against Tom Breeze, because I was under the impression Ahoyo is one of the worst middleweights in the UFC. But on top, I went back and I start reviewing the footage, and I realized, well, the guys he's lost to are Muniz and Duran Win, both guys who have a grappling centric approach to the game. And so, people talk about his gas tank issues coming into this fight, and absolutely, he was completely gassed. I won't deny that, but I'll also say, if you're a striker forced into a grappling match, you will gas very quickly. Whereas if he's in a striking match, which is what you'd sort of anticipate with Tom Breeze here, I don't know that we should expect he's going to gas at the same rate and pace. And I think that, he has some upside on the feet. He's got some good tools, and he's got, the frame to sort of match Breeze in this spot. Now, granted, Breeze is the younger guy. He's got better experience, and he's got UFC wins. It's like, of course, he deserves to be a favorite. But then, like you discussed, minus 250 on Tom Breeze, it's like, that does that not seem outrageous given all the things that we know? And so I don't want to be in a position where I have to bet on Ahoyo, but I might just be put back in the same position where I'm forced to back a bad fighter because the line is so wide. And, Tom Breeze looking good on the way into a fight doesn't mean as much to me as Tom Breeze looking good 30 seconds into a fight. And unless I can see a few examples of that in a row, I think I might have to keep doing the auto fade Tom Breeze if somebody's, plus 150 or better, period. And it doesn't even matter who it is necessarily. So I might have to take Ahoyo here, even though I am acknowledging up front he's one of the worst fighters in the middleweight division. But I still think that might be enough. If Tom Breeze doesn't show up ready to fight, that might be enough.
I don't blame you, especially at such a heavy price tag. I'm completely fine with that. Shout out to my guy, Dan Goldstein, once again. Tom Breeze is on that pattern of that win-loss. He's coming off a loss, which sets him up for potentially a win this weekend. Aaron, you going with that pattern? You think Breeze wins this fight, or you think Ahoyo pulls off the upset?
No, I'm on the same train as Liam here. I think it's just with the line, I can't back Tom Breeze. I think I need at least I might be taking a poke here at Arroyo. I haven't decided just yet, but I mean, Arroyo's fighting for his job. He said that in interviews, so I think he's going to be going for it. I don't know if that's better and more conducive to like an undershot, but I mean, a British guy, he's British, right? Or what is he? Yeah, a British guy versus a Brazilian. I'll give. I think I was looking at the sub props. What's the sub prop here?
Ahoyo by sub is plus 545.
Yeah, or like ITD. I would give it a shot. I mean, honestly,
Plus 355.
And by the way, Arroyo did not get submitted by Muniz, who snapped Jacare's arm.
That was
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like Muniz
Yes,
is a
for whatever
Muniz is a
that's
stud.
worth.
Yeah.
Muniz has been tapping everyone out, so I think he can at least survive. And he shouldn't be this big of an underdog. The mental issues are, it's a big deal. You see people like Osaka is pulling out of the French Open because of that. I think I don't know if he's been able to conquer it just yet. So I think there's some value there with Arroyo.
All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Dushko Todorovic coming off his first ever loss, taking on short notice Gregory Rodriguez. In terms of odds, I believe we're down to minus 130 for Dushko, who opened up at minus 195. A lot of love coming in for Gregory Rodriguez. Do you believe in that love, Mr. Paul Shaughnessy? Do you think that Rodriguez, or the Brazilian Barack, as I like to call him, do you think he pulls it off?
I think people probably watch the weigh-ins and they're just like, "Oh my god, this guy is a goddamn mutant!" Like he is jacked. He's big. I don't know how he makes the weight class. At the end of the day, though, we have two incredibly chinny guys. I think the best play in this fight is definitely the under. The under, if you can get the under 2.5, that's minus 185. I'd probably be more interested in the under 1.5. You can get around like plus 100, plus 105 if you got the right books. Dushko, I don't know. I'm not too impressed by either of these guys, to be perfectly honest. But Dushko really worries me with, the way that he took that punch last time out against. Sorry, I got distracted for a second there. Against Kuna.
Sorry, yeah.
Kuna Serrano. It was a war early on. I expect fireworks in this. I completely understand people coming in hot on Gregory Rodriguez, but I think both of these guys have real question marks around their durability. Not a spot that I feel really great on a side. I can understand why people are taking Gregory Rodriguez because they're just like, this is literally a coin flip, and you're giving me plus 130, plus 140. It's literally going to come down to like who gets cracked, who's able to take it, and go on from there. I think the under 1.5 is my favorite play. For the purposes of the show, I'll go with Dusty Dushko here, but I don't love it.
Yeah, it should be a barn burner, I believe, for as long as it lasts. And Dushko is one of those fighters, I think Santiago Ponzinio is dealing with it too, where people see that he loses one fight and they're like, the guy sucks. You know what I mean? Liam, do you have that feeling about Dushko, or do you think he still has some decent upside?
To be honest with you, I'm almost considering getting in on the Dushko money line at this point. I'm seeing it minus 125 on my book, and I think that Rodriguez, I watched his fights. He's not a bad fighter, but I think that if you want to talk about bad striking defense, Dushko has better striking defense than Rodriguez, in my opinion. Rodriguez keeps his head dead center and throws hard punches. It's like that is a way to fight, but he's been finished in the first round twice, and I think it's because he fights that way. And the guys that I was watching him fight against are guys that look like they're my size. And that was another thing where I'm like, who are these guys? He's got like 9-inch height advantages, 7.5 or 8.5-inch reach advantages. Like, yeah, he blows those guys out of the water quickly. He better. And I think when you look at Dushko, Punahele Soriano is actually a really good fighter who hits really goddamn hard. And Dushko was kind of touching him up and got clipped, and then it was all over. Like he tried to recover several times and couldn't get his feet back underneath him, and probably took a little more damage than he needed to in that spot. Now, am I saying Dushko is like a future top 5 guy or something? No, but I also think that Dushko is probably the better guy by a significant margin here. I might look crazy in retrospect. I don't know. I don't rate Rodriguez as highly as a lot of other people do. I think that he is more liable to get knocked out on the feet. I think that the under 1.5 is great at plus 100. I'm probably going to get in on that myself. I had also looked at the fight doesn't start round 3 at minus 160, but given the difference for those 2.5 minutes, I'll probably just stick with the under because I think somebody's probably going down in the first round. But I also like to have that insurance of 2.5 minutes. If somebody's rocked at the end of round 1 and they come back out and get finished in the first minute or something, I'd like to have that covered. So I think I'm going to be on the under 1.5.
I like it. Rodriguez is actually going to be tail ending a 2.5 month stretch where he's already fought twice and captured the LFA middleweight title. Now he comes in making his UFC debut on short notice. Aaron, do you think that Hobocop, as they call him on LFA, do you think he actually pulls it off here against Dushko, or do you think Dushko actually has the chops to bounce back from that loss to Puna last time around?
No, yeah, I agree with Liam here. I think, he doesn't move his head a lot, and that's probably going to be bad news against a guy like Dushko. So it's especially, and now it's short notice too. So, I mean, that type of thing leads to, I guess, I like Dushko a lot here.
You think he gets it done, I'm assuming, right? Knocks him out?
I do, yeah. No, both of these guys are going to go forward for sure in small cage in Vegas. So I think this is something that, under is a good look. I would definitely favor Dushko here, though. It's coming to the point where, the line is a little ridiculous. So people are coming in on Rodriguez. I watched his last fight. He looked good, but I mean, you kind of get both ways, right? Dushko just got knocked out, and then Rodriguez is coming off a knockout. So I think that builds a little bit of value if you like the other side. So I think Dushko's a good look here. Short price, so.
Yeah. I think Mr. Rodriguez is probably the oldest 29-year-old I've ever seen in my life. Shout out to Greg Oden, who probably comes close to that too. But I'm on the Dushko side here too. I think that he actually pulls off the win. I'm surprised that the line is coming in as much as it is. I know people like Rodriguez and what he's been doing, but Todorovic, he looks good still. I think he's going to be the faster fighter. I think he's the better striker. I'm not a big fan of his striking defense style, which is hands down and rely on head movement to get out of the way of your strikes. Obviously, it's going to catch up to just like it did against Puna Holly last time around, but I just don't think that Rodriguez has the explosiveness of Puna. I don't think he has the striking capabilities of Puna as well to close the distance with that type of speed and ability to knock him out. Puna, explosive, powerful, closes distance very well too. So I like Todorovic here. I think he actually gets the knockout probably first or second round. I think he rights the wrongs of his last fight. It's funny. I'm seeing people that were heavy on Todorovic against Puna Holly last time around. Completely throwing him aside and betting on Rodriguez now. Like, where is that confidence that you had before to believe that he was that good of a fighter, and now you're just throwing him away because he got put out? And the funny thing is, he didn't get fully put out in that fight either. He was eating some big shots, getting rocked and all that stuff. It was a standing KO, I believe it was, but the guy was still in it. You know what I mean? Like, he was still there and not completely out. So I'm not 100% sold that his chin is completely shot or anything like that. When you get hit consecutively by a guy like Puna Holly Soriano, it's going to do that to you. We'll see if it actually happens with, it looks like we lost Liam. Hopefully he jumps right back in. But I do like Todorovic here. I think he gets the finish. And there we go. Liam is right back. It's all good.
He's back. Let's go.
All good. All right. Paul, I believe we started off with you, right?
We did.
All right, so we'll move on to the next fight here. We got Santiago Ponzinio going up against Miguel Baeza. Easily the fight that I'm looking forward to the most here. A lot of question marks. Liam, I'll give you the platform here to kick off the breakdown here.
Oh, goodness, man. Locke, you're giving me the hardest one. I think that this fight is so compelling, very interesting. I was surprised, honestly, by the last Santiago Ponzinibio fight that we saw. I thought, I was impressed by the Leech first and foremost. I thought that the Leech looked better than he had in a long time in that fight. But on top of that, I did think that Santiago looked bad. I thought he looked slow. I thought he looked very tentative. And the question is, how much of that do you attribute to ring rust, and how much of it do you attribute to the fact that he's 34 years old and has been on the wrong end of some knockouts now in his career and might not be having the same success in training? And I don't know. The way that he talks in his interviews also gives me such pause. He talks like the last fight never happened. He's like, I'm going to get my belt. I'm going back for it. I'm like, I'm like, dude, let's try and get a win in the UFC in the last 3 years. That's what we need to get first before we get the belt. And, I think that his matchmaking hasn't done him any favors. And I think that this is no exception. Miguel Baeza in this fight, I see why people like the Ponzinibio side. He's got power. He's a good striker. He's got more experience. He's fought the better level of competition. And all those things are true. But I think Miguel Baeza is a very good fighter who's getting better. And he's younger. He's fresher. I think when you see he gets rocked against Matt Brown, right? He doesn't necessarily have the best striking defense. He's an offense first fighter, like a lot of guys in the UFC, by the way. But what's the difference? The difference is he gets rocked, then recovers quickly, and then hurts Matt Brown and puts him out, finishes him. On the other side, Santiago gets hit and he is out. Like loopy, looking up at the sky, has to ask the referee, hey, what's going on, man? What happened? I do think there's a little bit of a difference there. Miguel Baeza is a young enough guy that he could take shots, recover, and keep coming. And I don't know that Santiago can do that at this point in his career. And he's been doing that his whole career. I went back and watched a lot of his fights. Frankly, some of his fighting prime was before I was even interested in the UFC. And so I went back and educated myself a little bit. This guy's been getting hit in every fight that he's ever had. He just is a big hitter himself, and he puts it on guys and he scares them away from hitting him over the course of a fight. But I think that when you're 34, approaching 35 years of age, and you're in there with a young guy who's got upside on the ground and who's got upside on the feet, who's got powerful strikes and who's shown recoverability when he was hurt in the UFC, I kind of like Baeza in this spot. I don't know that I'm going to get involved in anything except the fight does not go to decision. But I've also considered Baeza inside the distance at plus 135. I think Ponzinibio, if he comes out here and wins this fight, God bless him. Maybe he's sticking around, but I do think that the last fight was so concerning to me because it showed that the things that he used to rely on weren't there anymore. And I think that without the ability to move his head offline and fire back, like slipping was the biggest part of his game, drawing out attacks and firing back. I think if you can't do that against young, fast guys like Baeza, you're probably going to get hit harder and probably early. I think under 1.5 rounds, Miguel Baeza would be my prediction.
I like it. I wish we had the 2.5 as the widely available line because I do like having that extra 5 minutes, but I think you're on the right track here. Aaron, you like the old school guy in Mr. Santiago Ponzinibio, 34 years old, had that 2.5 year layoff, gets knocked out by Li Jingliang in his return back in January, or do you like the young upstart in the 10-0 Miguel Baeza?
Yeah, it's tough to fade Baeza here. I think he's on the uphill, and I think Pons is going a little on the downhill here. So both of them, I don't feel too strongly about a side. I think both of them have showed some durability issues recently. So yeah, I do really like the under spot here, but yeah, you never know. I think you've seen, I like the younger fighter here. So Baeza, he's getting better, and he's already really fine-tuned product himself. So, but yeah, those times he got dropped by Matt Brown were a little concerning. And if you look at like strength of schedule, Pons has beat like Magny, and Magny's been getting some dubs here recently. And yeah, but I think Baeza, just the younger, fresher fighter, I think they're both pretty similar. Both got solid stand up, and I definitely see this one ending early. But 1.5 sucks. I wish it was 2.5. Yeah, so
absolutely. Yeah, no, I like Baeza here as well. I'm seeing a lot of love for Ponzinibio, which is why the line is closing as much as it is. And I understand it, right? Like if Ponzinibio comes back and looks like 75% or 80% of what he used to look like before that long-ass layoff, I think he looks pretty good here and potentially has a good shot of winning this fight. But it's been off for 2.5 years, and he looked very tentative in his last fight. They're playing patty cake with leg kicks last time around until, Ponzinibio actually opened up, threw a strike, and just wasn't tight enough on his defense and ate a beautiful counter more from Li Jingliang that absolutely floored him there. And shout out to Li Jingliang, not giving the guy enough time to even get his wits about him before hugging him on the ground and being, hey, good fight, man, good fight. Dude, he's still out. Let's give him a second. Fuck. Bad look from Ponzinio in that fight getting knocked out. But we don't even know how that's going to play into his mind frame this time around, right? Like, you're already coming off a 2.5-year-long layoff. You go out there and you lose. You get knocked out, especially. Now, are you going to be more gun-shy when you come back in, or are you going to shake off that ring rust? Are you going to say that the Li Jingliang fight was just me getting my feet wet again? Even though I got knocked out, at least I know what the canvas feels like on my feet once again. Maybe I can go out there and perform much better this time. But there's just too many question marks. I don't bang on anybody taking Ponzinio at the plus 130, plus 140 that he was at earlier in the week. But the closer that this line gets, I favor the Baeza side even more. I think he's, again, more active, the younger fighter here. And people want to harp on that Matt Brown rocking him to the point where he threw his mouthpiece out of his mouth and all that type of stuff. But like Liam touched on it, man, his wherewithal to come back in the same round, hurt Matt Brown in the same round, and then quickly finish him in the second round. The kid's good, man. I think he has a high upside. I think he can really burst into that top 10 with a solid win. But this fight can go either way, man. It just depends on what kind of Ponzinio we get here. And I'm not banking on him to come back and look good against a very fresh and young upstart here in Miguel Baeza. So I'm going Baeza. I'll go with knockout as well. But I'm very much going to have my eyes on this fight very closely. But in terms of actually putting money on it, I'm not touching this fight. I think that it's very volatile both ways. I think you're getting good value on Baeza, especially at the line that he's at now. But again, I'm giving Santiago the respect I think he deserves pre-fight, but I'm still going to go with Baeza here to win by first or second round KO. Paulie Shags, bring us on. How are you feeling about this one?
I'm on board with you guys.
Let's go.
I guess it's a four-way party here, but at the end of the day, I mean, I was on Matt Brown at like pretty long dog odds against Baeza. And the kid kind of impressed me, the fact that he was able to eat those shots. I thought that, Matt Brown was going to land those shots and maybe be able to close the show. When you're dealing with like a 9-0 prospect at that time, now a 10-0 prospect, you see him get hit, you're like, maybe somebody can put him away. But I was impressed by his ability to recover and then return fire in that spot. I think Santiago Ponzinio may have just been a fraud the entire time.
Wow.
I think
hot take.
There were people saying that this guy was going to win a UFC belt way back when. He's on an 8-fight win
That's
streak.
a pretty big dub.
You go through this record. I mean, finishing Court McGee is kind of impressive, but Andreas Stahl is just like, well, that's a layup. Zach Cummings, Nordine Taleb, he impregnated Gunnar Nelson's eye. Like, that's the only reason he won that fight. Like, if Gunnar got him to the ground and was able to work his jiu-jitsu, different story. I throw that win completely out. Mike Perry's dust. We've learned that at this point. Being able to finish Neil Magny in round 4, okay. But I imagine, I can't recall off the top of my head, there's probably an eye poke there as well. The only sure bet in this fight is the Pons, who works as like a broadcaster for like the South American feed for the UFC broadcasts. He's landing an eye poke in round 1.
Let's go.
Be ready for that. Wait for the eye poke to be landed before you make any wagers on this fight. I'm going to go with Baeza, though. Young eyes, they're going to be able to recover from that early eye poke. Baeza for me, but I think it is a relatively close fight.
I thought go ahead.
Can we do a shoey bet if there's a eye poke landed or not?
Breaking news.
The yes, no.
So when I moved out to Halifax, Nova Scotia here, I threw out the old boot.
Oh,
dude, what are you wearing right now?
I'm wearing flip-flops right now.
So you don't have any shoes?
Winter boot that has become of like Dogger Pass lore. There were holes in it. Like, there's many episodes where I was spilling
I'll Venmo you for
on top of myself while trying to drink it. I left
framed that
behind.
shit.
It just seemed like dead weight.
All right.
But I'll get another. Yeah, we could do a shoey bet. I have a pair of shoes.
So
I have one pair of shoes.
I think the two shoey bets are either yes, no on the eye poke, or who has more spinning attacks, Laureano or Salikov. What do you think?
I
Which one
put
would you
in
rather
round
do?
1. I'll take the yes.
Okay.
For
I'll give you the whole
round
fight.
two.
I'll give you the whole fight for
The whole
Ponz.
fight.
Yeah,
You don't think
100%.
Ponzi?
15 minutes.
You don't think Ponzi
15
lands
minutes.
an
I
eye
think that's
poke?
fair. No, I
All
don't
right,
think so.
deal.
He just cleaned it up. He's at ATT. He's ready to go. Ready to get that dub. All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Hopefully, I'll bring you guys back on here to live up to that bet, and we'll see that actually goes down. All right, let's move things along because I'm running short on time here. We got Roman Delite going up against Lariano Staropoli, another live dog that I think that could be barking here. I believe we got Aaron actually up here now to kick us off. What do you like here, Staropoli or the numbnut, Mr. Roman Delite?
Yeah, I kind of like Staropoli here. I think transits Charles Oliveira, who is at the moment my favorite fighter, which is not great analysis, but I love him. So I think that plays into it a lot. But yeah, Delize, he looks all right. I mean, he can definitely he tries to mix in some wrestling here and there, but his stand-up just leaves a lot to be desired to me. It looks like he can be countered pretty easily, and I think Staropoli is I think he's getting better. So I think that as a dog that he might be a good look here as like an underdog upset. Delite is he's got a nice sweater going, got the body hair, which is dope for him. But I think this is definitely something I think an underdog might be a good look here.
I like me some Staropoli as well, man. I think he's a good underdog in the spot. He looks nice and filled out at 185 pounds. I was very surprised that he even decided to go up a weight class here because I didn't think he was the biggest welterweight to begin with. But the guy's 6'1". He seems to have a decent frame on him. Again, filled out pretty well at 185 pounds, especially at the weigh-ins here. And he's only given up 1 inch in height to Mr. Roman Delite, so I don't think he's going to be at a huge size disadvantage here. Again, I think he's more busy on the feet. I think his spinning attacks and his unorthodox nature in the striking realm is going to help him kind of mystify the head hunter that is Roman Delite. Delite, if you go back and watch his regional tape before coming to the UFC, he's that brute, right? He's that guy that just marches forward, tries to take your head off, and more often than not, he was able to do so back then. But coming into the UFC, he's had to revolutionize his game a little bit, changing over training camps, going there to Extreme Couture for the last couple fights now under Eric Nixick, but still making dumbass decisions. Coach, you want me to submit him? Okay. And then he proceeds not to submit him. So like it just doesn't work out. These heel hook games are not going to work against most of these opponents in the UFC. And he continues to do it. So I wonder at what point he's going to decide not to do it and realize it's just detrimental to his game. But until he shows us that, I'm always going to assume that he's going to pull off some dumbass shit like that. So I do like Staropoli here as long as he can keep this fight vertical. I believe Delite will have the strength advantage. So I think if he wants to get this fight to the ground, he probably will. But I'm not impressed with his top game. I think he allows his opponent to get back to his feet, or he makes stupid mistakes, like I said, trying to jump for a heel hook. So I think Staropoli will do a good job in remaining on the feet and then outstrike Delite en route to a decision victory. So I like Delite here. I think he's a good spot at, I think he was plus 120 last time I saw it. Wow. Plus 125 now. So it seems like some Delite money coming in. Paul, who do you like here?
Some of that Delite money was me after the looking at Staropoli.
Oh, he looks sick at the wins?
This guy just looks like a 170-pound fighter that obviously missed last time at coming in at 174.5. But he came in and he didn't add any muscle. It's just like he's
got a dad bod.
So much smaller than Roman. I think Roman's going to be able to dictate, the pace of this fight. And I mean, as somebody who now has, like on the show this week, I actually was leaning towards Staropoli, but I said, let's wait for the weigh-ins. We don't know what it's going to look like. And I thought when I watched those weigh-ins, I was just like, man, Delite is, a 205er coming down to 180. Like obviously he fought 185 last time out, but he's fought at 205 and didn't look out of place. Like he was enormous compared to him. I hope he's able to pressure forward and take Staropoli down at will. There's been so many other guys before this that were able to take him down at will. He's a bit of a goofball. Like I don't love having money on him. And the volume is definitely not there. But I think the size disparity when they get out there on fight night, he's going to be a good 20, 25 pounds heavier. And if his game plan is let's stick to the wrestling, let's take him down, we've got, a great jiu-jitsu background in our back pocket here. So we're not going to get in any trouble, even if he's learned some tricks from Charles Oliveira. I think Dela rolls here. So I took a minus 135 this afternoon.
God damn, Paul. I didn't think I'd get that take out of you, but I can't say I don't disagree. It's definitely a viable outcome for him. Liam, how are you feeling about this one?
We are divided by screen on this one, gentlemen. Me and Paul are riding together here. I actually took a bet also on Dela, and I just wasn't impressed by Staropoli, man. I thought that his striking looked really strange to me when he was fighting Salikov. I thought that he had some success in round 3. Seemed like he was starting to figure out the timing and the range a little bit better, but he was kind of getting picked apart by Salikov the first 2 rounds. And I don't know, man. I feel like he is a bit aloof. Staropoli, I feel like he's he doesn't have a great base underneath him. I feel like he is kind of off balance while he's fighting. And I do think that the size is going to play a big factor here. So without belaboring the point, I think Dela is probably the side. But I also think that, it's a close enough fight. I wouldn't think that Dela should be, some massive favorite, but I do think that he is the deserving favorite in this spot.
All right. I like it. That brings us to our co-main event where we get Big Walt Harris coming in at 260 pounds once again, going up against Marcin Tybura. I believe we're back to myself actually to kick off the predictions here. So I really like Marcin Tybura here. I think that this is a perfect spot for him to go out there and do what he's been doing over his last 4 fights, which is strike a little bit and then eventually land takedowns and really grind his opponents out. But in this spot, I think he actually finishes Walt Harris probably in that 2nd or 3rd round. Walt Harris, I'd lump him into the Jairzinho Rosa strikes and the Francis Ngannou's and the Derek Lewis's, is which I mean by like KO or bust. I don't think he has the chops to go out there and really win a decision. Yeah, he won the Andre Arlovski fight by decision, but that guy got outstruck by 20 strikes and still ended up winning that decision somehow. Very interesting how the judges actually ended up scoring that fight. But not to mention, popped for steroids after that one too, and he hasn't gone past the 2nd round since that fight. He's had 4 fights since then, obviously starching Spivak and Oleinik, and then getting finished by Overeem and Volkov. And obviously Overeem and Volkov are a different level than Tybura at this point in time, but if Tybura can stay away from get knocked out early in that 1st round, I think he can. I've seen him eat some decent shots from Ben Rothwell. I wish we could have seen him eat like harder shots or more clean shots from his past opponents to truly say that he should be able to handle the pressure that Walt Harris is going to be bringing to him. But I think that we see Marcin Tybura, evade the big strikes, land the takedowns, suck the wind out of Walt Harris, and then eventually finish him probably in that 2nd or 3rd round. I dropped it on the Prop and You Up show last night. Plus 600 Marcin Tybura in round 2, plus 1,000 Marcin Tybura in round 3. I'm taking some shots on there because I think he has all the chops to go out there and beat Walt Harris, who is also changing training camps. He's over there at Extreme Couture. If you guys check out his IG, he's chilling with Roman Dolidze a lot. They're training a lot together under Eric Nixick, but I think he's just too far into his career to truly change anything. I think it's cardio is always going to be his kryptonite, and I believe that Marcin Tybura will have the much better cardio, and I think he'll have the wrestling chops to go out there and take down Walt Harris after that 3-ish minute point, and have some massive success with that ground and pound. So I like Tybura probably round 2 or round 3, like I said, plus 600 round 2, plus 1,000 round 3. I like me some Tybura. Paulie Shags, how you liking it?
I like Tybura as well, and I thought he looked pretty solid at the weigh-ins this afternoon. I thought everything was just a little bit more tight, just a little bit more put together, which is good. But I think if you have a book that is offering the under 2.5 rounds on this fight, that is like the free money like in MMA. Oh my God, everything can happen in MMA. That's the free money bet of the week. Walt Harris is going to go out there. He's going to try to finish this fight early, and he's going to wilt. And when he wilts, he's going to get taken down. He's going to get taken down at will, and he's probably going to get like submitted or ground and pounded at that point, or he does successfully find that chin in the first 7.5 minutes, maybe even 10 minutes. I don't feel great about the 1.5 rounds. There's a few books that have the 2.5 at like minus 125, even up to like minus 150. I say all aboard, get on the train, under 2.5 rounds. I think it's the best bet on this entire card. I'm not going to lie. But I'll pick Tybura. I thought he looked pretty good at the weigh-ins. And hopefully he just doesn't allow himself to get like into a war on the feet early on. That's the only way I see him losing this fight. So Tybura is the pick, but under 2.5 rounds is the bet. I'm
surprised they didn't make that the widely available line, considering it's only at minus 125. But I'm right there with you, Paul.
Scared. You go through go through Walt Harris's records. It's like the only fight that he got outside of that 2.5 rounds is against Andrei Arlovsky.
Yeah.
You go all the way back, and then Shamil Abdurakhimov, another decision machine back in 2016. Yeah. Like, his fights go one of two ways. He either knocks you out early, or you survive the early storm, and he wilts away in rounds 2 and 3. If he even gets to 3. He usually never even gets to round 3.
Fight won't start at round 3. That's probably the spot that I'd like to. I think that's at plus 100 as well. If you have access to that solid spot, Liam, are we shitting on Walt Harris too much here? How do you see this fight going down?
I feel like I've been a little bit of the contrarian today, so I will again say yes. But I will also preface it with I'm not in radical disagreement with you guys about the 2 lanes for this fight to play out. But I think that Walt Harris is, the kind of guy that does knock out Marcin Tybura in the first round. Greg Hardy doesn't really finish guys of any substance, right? The guys he's finished are kind of just forgettable, no-name guys, but he was having success striking in that fight. And then it was exposed that he literally does not practice on the ground. I don't know what else to say. It looked like he had never been underneath somebody else in a grappling scenario before. And so Marcin, I tried to fade him in the Greg Hardy fight. I tried to fade him in the Ben Rothwell fight. I think Marcin Tybura has been skating along on this run, waiting for somebody to clean his clock. I've never rated Marcin that highly. Now, granted, he has the better minute winning potential in this fight, no doubt about it. But I do think that Walt Harris has some minute winning potential, because we've seen that Marcin Tybura, if he gets cracked hard on the feet, he either will start to be finished or he will fall back and try to limit the damage that's happening. And I think that we could see him scared off in the early rounds from Walt Harris. And if Walt is just able to compose his game a little bit, I feel like he could find a finish in the first 7.5 minutes. But I will also jump on with Paul there, not the under 2.5, because I didn't have access to that on my book. But I was going to say that my most confident play on the card is that this fight does not go the distance. Minus 155. I locked it in a little bit earlier this week. I think it's up to minus 170, but I still think that there's value there. I think that that's very likely to take place.
Go ahead, Paul.
So for my Canadian brethren, if you have an account at Coolbet, they're hanging a minus 123 on the under 2.5 right now. And I'm adding more because I've had 6 seltzers and I'm ready.
Hey, Alfred.
Let's go.
Goddamn. Seems like Alfred is off his rocker once.
It's all right. Alfred? Dog's name is Alfred?
Hell yeah. That's the best name.
That's a good name.
He's a little wiener dog. I'm sure I'll show him at the end of the stream here for you guys. Alfred, come on. You ain't that big boy. All right. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be hitting that spot on Coolbet. I appreciate you guys. Speaking of Coolbet, Coolbet.com, promo code MMALOTN2. They give you a free $200 to work with as well if you're up in Canada. Shout out to Coolbet. All right, I believe we went all around the clock here. Oh, sorry, we do have to get Aaron's take, who did go through a midstream wardrobe change for us. Shout out to my guy with the jean jacket. It looks like a jean jacket over here. But well, what you got in this fight? You got Walt Harris or Marcin Tybura?
Yeah, I'm a little undecided on which side I have. I think Liam's right. I think there's definitely Walt Harris is live for that first round KO. But as the fight goes on, I think Tybura is definitely more prone to getting that dub. So I think ever since Tybura moved to, I think Syndicate MMA was where he's been for these past few fight camps, he's improved quite a bit. So he had a little bit of a streak there where he was getting L's, but I think after that he started getting it together, and it was pretty much after he went to Syndicate MMA. So I think he's still there, and I think he's been doing really well. And Walt is like he's a little bit of a one-trick pony. He's got power, and if he gets taken down, I don't really have much confidence in him. So I agree with the boys. I think under is probably the play here, because it wouldn't surprise me at all if Walt gets that KO in the first round. But yeah, as the fight goes on, I think Tybora's got more of a chance here to get the W.
Yeah, I think if you're betting Walt Harris here on the money line, you're probably leaving some money on the table. I would just pick him by KO plus 270. Better spot. Do you really think that Walt Harris wins a decision here? Probably not, right? So
I can't imagine that.
Yeah. All right, that brings us to our main event. We got Jairzinho Rosa going up against Mr. Augusto Sakai in terms of the odds. It's been hovering around that pick'em line, but seems like Rosa has been getting a little bit of love, minus 120, plus 100 on Mr. Sakai, and I believe we are on Mr. Paul Shaughnessy to kick us off for the breakdowns.
The main event that nobody asked for, and nobody asked for it to be 5 rounds. I mean, there's obviously a couple ways for this fight to play out. Number one, Jairzinho doesn't land a death bomb. And Sakai, in fairness, has had very, very good durability for the majority of his fights, except for obviously round 5 against Alistair Overeem. He's really, really tired, getting gassed and wearing down. Now it's his second opportunity to go 5 rounds. I understand. It was a learning curve type of thing. At the end of the day, though, it's really, really hard to trust. Jairzinho is another one of these guys. It's just like, I think he knows, especially when he's in his 5-round fights, is that he's not able to throw too many punches or he's going to gas himself out. And he seems like he fights with the mentality of, I want to still be here in round 5. So he's very, very tentative. He doesn't throw strikes. But I feel like at some point he's going to land the death touch and get the job done here. So I don't have a cent on the main event here. I hate betting this fight because I think, power advantage is for Jairzinho. But if this fight is an absolute stinker and goes 5 rounds, well, Augusto Sakai is going to win this fight just strictly on the fact that he's able to throw 20 to 30 strikes per round, and Jairzinho is going to throw 10, maybe 15 max, and you just can't win fights in the UFC with that type of volume. So it's a slight lean towards Jairzinho for me, but there's so many. We just broke down 13, 14 fights for you guys.
Yeah.
There's so many better places for you to spend your hard-earned dollars than this main event, in my humble opinion. So Jairzinho's the pick. Don't love it. It's a pass for me.
All right, Liam, how were you feeling in this fight?
I'm gonna have to echo a lot of Paul's sentiments on this fight. I think that when I watched back some of Sakai's footage, I don't think he's a bad fighter. I think he's a fairly run-of-the-mill heavyweight, a lot more point fighting than anything else, although keep in mind he did knock out Marcin Tybura. Hey, geez, Louise. But I will say this, man. I think that the Sakai, the troubling note was that he gassed in the Overeem fight, in my opinion, pretty significantly against a guy who was older than him. It was supposed to be young guy pushes old vet past his limit, and instead, he out-volumed him and did whatever he was trying to do and just ran out of steam to finish the job. And I think that, Jairzinho, he's a very frustrating guy to cap. He's a very frustrating guy to watch, because you think to yourself, man, this guy stinks. And then he just death touches somebody in 8 seconds. And you're like, he definitely could do that still in later rounds. He punched a hole in Alistair's face in the 5th round, punched a hole in his face. I've watched a lot of fights. I've very rarely seen somebody get a gunshot wound from a punch. And I was like,
so painful.
I think that when you're acknowledging up front, right, if you're a Sakai backer, he's probably going to be in his face the whole time throwing punches. He's probably going to be there to be hit by a counter. A lot of the success people have been having against Rosenstrike is keeping on the outside and picking him apart, except Francis, who went running, flailing overhands and KO'd him like that. So I don't think that we're going to see that from Sakai. So we're probably going to see Sakai trying to walk him down and do some Muay Thai, stay in his face. And maybe he's able to break him down by doing that. But I think in all likelihood, he's putting himself in a position where he's going to get countered by a guy who's a better kickboxer and probably has death touch power significantly more than Sakai. So I'd say 25 minutes ironically favors Jairzinho, even though he has been reserved in these 25-minute fights. He still carries the power. Overeem, I think people also, talk about that fight like he was about to lose that decision. It was so clear. I watched it back, and I think you could argue that he won 2 of the rounds out of the 4 going into that 5th round. And, not to say that he was running away with it. I just feel like with very little output, he's still able to hurt guys and scare them off. And so I think that if Sakai's staying in his face the whole time, there to be hit, he's probably going to get death touch. Although I'm staying away from this as well. I don't have a cent on this, and I would.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is another snoozer like we had in the Gon fight, but you can't really blame Sakai or Gon when you have guys that have the death touch like a Jairzinho Rosenstrike. And just further to your point about in terms of how that Overeem fight was scored, 2 judges actually had Overeem up 4 rounds going into that 5th, and 1 judge had Overeem up 3 rounds. So 1 judge did give Jairzinho that 4th round. So if that did hit the judges' scorecards, Overeem would have won that fight. Aaron, how are you feeling about this fight? You got the death touch man, or do you think that's Sakai?
Yeah, no, I got Rosenstrike here. I think Lee made a good point with what's his name coming forward, and he brings a lot of volume, so he's there to be countered. And I think Rosenstrike's got that death touch. I don't really have much more to say other than that. I think the price is right here to make a play. I will say, have you guys ever looked at that Combat Cafe guy? They look at like social media following to kind of try to find value based upon it. Actually, it's not bad. It's it looks like Rosenstrike has like 171,000 followers and Sakai has 20K. So I mean, that's just I actually they use that same kind of like model for trying to find value on like the Garbrandt fight, the last fight, for example. So I think you guys should check it out. It's called Combat.cafe, but it is very interesting because like the people that bet on MMA.
Like Cody Garbrandt.
No, it makes sense.
Font though, so
right. No, but the value was all on font based upon Combat Cafe. Because font I think had like 10,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah,
whatever his social followers were. It makes sense.
There's definitely an impact of how hyped a certain fighter is
100%.
based on their betting line.
People throw money on
every fight fan in Suriname is just spamming every
I'm actually surprised that Rosenstrike
here.
I'm surprised Rosenstrike has 200K followers, but like Sakai has 10K. I'll send you guys the link, but it's actually very interesting just because the way the market is shaped, like if people are betting on you, your line is going to get shaped by that. So if there's some guy with like 200K versus 20K, like that's a pretty substantial amount. So people will bet based on, who they know. I think a lot of times, for MMA, especially because they just want to bet on a fight, but it's an interesting, I'll send it to you guys.
All right. Well, it seems like everybody's on Jairzinho here, except your boy. I like the Sakai side of things here. I do think that he could be like I think Paul and Liam were talking about. He is durable. He's never been finished outside of that Overeem fight, and even that fight, I believe that was like a ground and pound TKO via exhaustion because we've never seen Sakai actually go into that 5th round. So that is a good learning experience for Sakai, knowing how it feels to go the full 5 rounds, or at least not the full, but at least reach the 5th round. Was winning those first 3 rounds for sure against Overeem, in my opinion, until the takedown started to take a hefty chunk out of his gas tank, and then obviously he gets pummeled in that 5th round. But I think he has the chops to go out there and clinch Jairzinho up against the cage, try to slow him down a little bit, stay away and nullify the amount of power that's going to be coming back his way. And then I don't think he's going to have as much taxing movements on his cardio as he did in that Overeem fight with Rosa Strike. Just stay away from the big power. Obviously easier said than done, but I do think that Sakai can do that and hopefully pull away with the decision victory here. I do like Sakai via decision in this spot. Two spots that I will throw out there that I think has some value is if Sakai does have another bit, somewhat of a cardio dump later in this fight, like he did against Alistair Overeem. Rosa Strike round 4 sitting at plus 1900, and Rosa Strike in round 5 plus 2700. There's got to be a little bit of value there, considering that he'll probably get sloppy there, and Mr. Rosa Strike could probably land that bomb. And we know, if anything, that Overeem fight showed us that he has that the sustainable power to go a full 25 minutes and still possibly knock somebody out. So ultimately, I still will pick Sakai. Hopefully, he's learned his lesson from the Overeem fight and is able to grind this fight out and get that decision victory. All right. That's pretty much the card. The last thing that we're going to end off on here is a segment that a lot of people like. I'm going to throw it around the horn, and everybody can give their best lock of the night play or the most trusted play for the card at anything better than a minus 250 favorite. I'm going to be a little bit cheap here because I already played my lock of the night play earlier in the week. I got minus 250 on Montana De La Rosa. I think she has the least amount of resistance to go out there and grapple fuck the shit out of Ariani Lipski, and then eventually get that finish at some point in the second or third round, whether by submission or ground and pound. Lipski is a fish off of her back when she's getting taken down, and I expect the same thing to happen here with Montana De La Rosa. Paul, what's the spot that you like? I think I know what it is, but just let the
find
know
yourself a book that has Walt Harris versus Marcin Tybura under 2.5 rounds. The 1.5 dicey. We don't know how it's going to play out that way. 2.5 rounds. Find yourself a book that has that. Hide your kids, hide your wife, put your money on that. Profit. That's it. That's the play. That's the play this week.
I'm sure most places actually have fight doesn't go decision more than they'd have minus under 2.5. That's still a good line.
You can take that one as well.
Yeah.
Watch, it's gonna be 231 of round fucking 3, and everyone I watch is like, oh, thanks for the fight doesn't go to decision prop, man, and I'm gonna be licking my wounds. But I hope everyone wins. But
perfect.
I would like them to.
Liam, who you got here? What's your lock of the night play for this card?
Absolutely. Well, I was going to go with the fight does not go to decision in that fight, but in the interest of making things a little more interesting and mixing it up, I think that Mason Jones, biggest favorite on the card, deserving of that distinction. I think that he's got a ton of finishing potential here, probably over 55%, and that's why I think there's value on the plus 110 inside the distance. So Mason Jones inside the distance would be my second favorite play on the card in all likelihood. I think that line is held steady plus 110. So I might add to it a little bit. I had 0.91 units and I might add a little bit more.
I like it. Aaron, bring it on home. What's your favorite play for this card? And just a reminder, you are muted right now. So make sure you unmute yourself.
Yep, I am. So I think I like Levitt Poyos under 2.5 here.
Oh wow.
I think there's gonna be a lot of grappling. I think someone gets subbed. So, and if there's the case where neither of them can get to the ground, I think there's gonna be a knockout in some fashion. So no one really knows how Levitt looks if he's forced to stand. So a lot of times that ends up in a finish. So I like that for the under 2.5. I think it's a pretty good price. I think, like I said, I really value Levitt's grappling. I think he's really good, but there's a shot here that he can't get it to the ground. He gets knocked out just because there's an unknown there whether or not he's good at striking in any capacity. So that's my lock of the night.
All right. I like it. Appreciate everybody that was catching the stream on a Friday afternoon. Normally it's Friday evenings, but your boys headed to a cottage in a couple hours. So I just wanted to get this out of the way and give you guys the content that you guys so desire. So I'm just going to throw it around the horn right here and let everybody plug what they would like to plug. Paul, let's kick it off with you. What do you want to plug, my man?
Follow me on Twitter at Paul Shag. Follow our podcast, Dog or Pass Pod. Every single Wednesday we drop it. Me and Cody have been doing this for 6, 7. I don't know. I've lost track of the amount of years that we've been doing the show. It's always been good times. It's a nice little entry level for other people. It seems like people in this chat are a little bit too hardcore. Maybe they've heard of it. They've already moved on. Either way, that's it. I just like talking about fights. More of a producer than a fight predictor. At the end of the day, I just happen to like breaking down fights as well. So yeah, just do that. Follow me on Twitter. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah.
I love it. Just a reminder, their Twitter links are linked in the description below. So you guys don't have to go on Twitter and type in their names and try to find these guys. Just go to the description below. Make sure you guys click it and give them a follow because I promise you they are worth it. Liam, what do you got to plug, my man?
I appreciate it, Locke. Thank you so much for having me on, man. I had a great time. And I can give a wholehearted endorsement of the Dogger Pass podcast. I'm a consumer. I enjoy the show. And I love being a part of the space, guys. I can be found on YouTube, Liam Picks Fights, same thing on Twitter. And I have been doing this for just about a year now. I think I'm getting better as I go. And I've been doing better this year than I did last year. I did a little experimenting to see where I was at and profitable so far this year and hoping to keep the ball rolling. So excited to be here. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely, brother. This is going to be not the last time that you're on the show. I promise. Yeah, you're one of my favorites for sure, and I'm glad to give you the platform to do so. Aaron, what do you got to plug over there? You got some seltzer company you're working on, or what? What do you got to plug?
Not really. I will say, I do have a Twitter account, Seltzer Index, that I like to review seltzers for the boys. But other than that, I'd love to plug Paul's podcast. I love that podcast. That's my favorite podcast. But yeah, I got nothing, honestly. I'm just happy to be here, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, brother. Liam, go ahead.
Locke, sorry. The last thing I wanted to mention on the way out, if you are interested in other sports, because I am not, I don't know anything about them. I'm a nut. I only pay attention to combat sports. I only train martial arts. That's the kind of stuff I love. But I work with a company called Delphi Sports. I helped start it with a couple of my friends. They're even sharper when it comes to betting on basketball, baseball. Delphi Sports, if you're interested, check it out. The commish has been absolutely killing it in baseball this year. I would give him a look and a follow. Delphi commish.
I love it. I love it. Aaron, go ahead.
Oh, I got one more thing, just in case Brittany Palmer's watching. I'm just joking. But if any of you guys know Brittany Palmer, let her know I'm giving my ad. Yeah, let her know I'm here. She liked one of my tweets the other day, so I'm getting closer.
You're getting close. Sorry. That was almost there. I think it was Ariani Celeste. Actually,
she liked your post. Yeah,
she
exactly.
liked my post, which is huge. That's the first step. Actually, she liked someone who liked my post. So that's like a girl thing. Chicks love that.
She notices you.
That's a game. Yeah,
that's step one.
So cheers, saying there's a chance.
There's a chance, 100%.
You guys are awesome. Cheers. I fucking love you guys. Great episode as always. Everybody, good luck on your bets tomorrow. Gamble responsibly. Don't be drinking seltzers and making 5-unit bets or anything like that.
Yeah.
Mr. Paul saying something like that. Have fun with the fights tomorrow, guys. Good luck on your bets. Appreciate you guys checking out the show as always. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Go to the Twitter accounts of these guys. Links are in the description below. Give them a follow and support everything that they're doing because they are top-notch guys. Good luck, and I'll see you guys next week for the big UFC 263, headlined by 2 title fights and Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz. Peace out, guys.
Take care.